Hello, everyone. It's Drop Frames time. We got Zeke. We got Cohh. We have the Herald of Darkness himself, Mr. Cox. First name
Yo, what up?
Jesse. Welcome to the show, Jesse. How you been?
Good. How are y'all doing?
You know, not we're not too
Wow,
shabby.
ouch.
You know, it's okay. We're doing okay.
That's what I'm here for. Let's go.
You gotta
Oh,
match.
yeah.
You
There
gotta
we
match
go.
the show energy. Yeah.
How did you get the name Herald of Darkness? Where did that come from?
Well, I mean,
Well,
he's not the
I'm
champion
also
of light.
champion.
He's not the
I could be
champion.
the champion of
I don't
light.
think
I am
you're the
the torch
champion
bearer.
of light. No, I don't.
Maybe I'm all three, bro.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Who could say?
Maybe I can brighten up and be the champion of light.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now you're a little blue though. Now okay.
Hold on,
Now
we can get there.
sure. I'm not gonna color balance you live on air. I refuse to do
That's
this.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the Charlie Kelly like red strings like whiteboard you have behind you. That's great.
Oh yeah, I got all sorts of
He's got
theories
props.
and things happening.
Yeah. He brought props. He's got to stand up.
You
And
can't see it; it's cut off. But I got a mask over here.
Oh yeah, you
I
can't.
got an
That's
FBI
right.
hat over here. I got props,
Yeah,
baby.
see? You got a little deer mask.
I'm
over
like the
there.
carrot top of Twitch.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
True.
Is that a good thing? When does
That's
this
a reference for like 3 people watching.
Yeah. When are you gonna do? When are you gonna start with the steroids?
I'm very into prop comedy.
Yeah.
Prop comedy and steroids. That's Jesse's two
Yep,
big
yep.
things.
Actually, I'm on
Man,
steroids right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot you were. You finally went to the doc. That's a round of applause
I did.
for a man going to a
Yeah.
doctor. Woo!
Thank you very much. I
Woo!
appreciate that.
Big moment in
It was a big moment. It was a big moment. It was.
You got some steroids, huh? They fixed you right
I
up.
did. I actually did the antibiotics first. That didn't do it, so now I'm doing the steroids and hoping that does. So
Jesus.
yeah,
Well,
been fun.
yeah. You
fun
get better.
times.
Did they put a name to it? The
No,
disease you have? No.
no clue.
Yeah. Coughitis, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
Concrud,
Concrud.
you will.
Yeah. Jesse, were you at TwitchCon? You didn't go to TwitchCon.
I
right?
was.
You were. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. You were on a panel together. I forgot about that. You didn't get sick, right?
Yes.
Or did you get sick?
I got a cold, but it was
Oh.
only like I don't know, 2 days. It wasn't huge.
Okay. You escaped
Yeah.
unscathed.
I was at TwitchCon for approximately 9 hours. So
Oh, so you got the 9-hour
I
version
didn't.
of what everyone
yeah, I
else
got the short version. Yeah.
That makes sense. That
was good.
Yep.
Yeah.
The smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we're going to start off today's show with a little bit of a spoiler cast for Alan Wake 2 since we all finished it this past week. And then once the spoiler tags are gone, that means you can tune back in if you don't want the spoilers. I would suspect it'll probably be an hour, but I'm not going to stop the conversation if it's flowing. And then we'll get into all of the news and stuff because there is a decent amount this past week with like GTA6 being announced, I guess, with some other stuff as well. Golden Joysticks are out there. We can kind of talk about the winners. We got nominations tomorrow for I don't want to say the actual Game Awards. Maybe that's a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to it. And then whatever else is going on in the world of video games. So, spoilers are going out now. This is now a spoiler cast. You've been locked into a spoiler cast. We can now spoil the game. You've been warned. It's happening. I'm not going to say it again. Okay, here we go. We gave everyone every chance possible to get out of the show if they don't want spoils for Alan Wake 2.
Alan Wake kills Dumbledore. Oh god.
I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it there at the end. It was
Crazy
wild.
crossover moment.
Yeah.
Unexpected. Yeah.
It was wild. It was wild.
It was wild.
We've me, Zeke, and Cohh have kind of all talked about the game. I think for now this is the 3rd week running. So we're a little bit of old news in that regard, Jesse. But we'll ask
Kind of
you.
old news in general.
Yeah, we're just old in general. This is the old person's
general.
podcast. Yeah. But for you, Jesse, how'd you enjoy the game? We'll just start there. What'd you think of Alan Wake 2?
I mean, I loved it. I am curious what the 3 of you like your exposure to the Remedyverse is. As someone who is like deep in it, it checked all the boxes for me.
Yeah.
I was like, yup, that's amazing. That's pretty cool. And yeah, I'd love if a game is weird, I will play it. I am into play it, and I will deep dive it. That's like, when people make a 5-hour-long video about like Dark Souls lore, that's how I am about Remedy games.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, what was that? And how'd that work? And what was that thing? Yeah, and especially Alan Wake 2, it starts connecting things in a way that I'm so pleased with. So,
do you think that's a question I have for people who really get into the lore of things? Like, do you think, or I guess the better question would be, how often do you look at something that is you find out is not what you thought it was, but you're looking for signs everywhere to link this to this and that to that? How often do you do that, like, incorrectly? Is it a lot or not so much?
It depends on the little breadcrumbs left. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes people accuse me of pre-spoiling a thing because I'll just make a comment of like, okay, that's definitely this, and it comes true. But it's not because I'm some sort of futuristic precog helping Tom Cruise, one of the Toms. It's because somewhere in the plot they already dropped the tidbit, and I just saw it and was like, gonna put that away and make a call later. And usually good storytelling does that. It is almost always because the writers have created all the tools necessary for you to make like, oh, that's what that connection is. And this game does that a lot. Alan Wake 2 absolutely nails connectors, and in ways that if you play or have played all the different Remedy games, it's like mind-blowing some things that are in this game. And they don't give you answers, and they may never give you an answer.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can make the inference as to what it actually means, you're like, that's some good writing right there. So yeah. I'm a big fan.
Well, I've done like there's certain like universes or series or whatever like that I have been into in the past, and I'll look at a stick and be like, they left that stick there because of this thing in this episode of this game and that, like, and I'd just be like, dude, it's just a stick, homie. Like, but it looks like that, doesn't it? Like, come on. That was like, you could see that, right?
Sure. I think the difference is in this game, everything that is meant to be seen has a purpose. Like, like if they're creating something to add to this, it isn't like if it's a stick, it's going to be a stick that like, yo, that's the stick from this other thing because it looks exactly like that. You know what I mean?
It's a rubber ducky.
Find a note.
Type, right?
Yeah, like the rubber ducks. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
The rubber ducks in this game could literally be nothing. It could be exactly what you're talking about, Zeke. It could be nothing. But if you play Control, there's like a whole other level of, wait a minute, that could be something. But they never say that it is. It just could be.
The thing, I didn't see any rubber ducks.
Really?
I didn't see like.
Oh,
no,
I saw them everywhere. I saw them in the
because I would have known that reference. I would have got to answer your previous question, Jesse. Like, as far as the Remedyverse goes, I think I'm probably like a 7 out of 10 because I played, Alan Wake, Control, all the Max Paynes. Like, I missed a couple of DLCs. I didn't play Quantum Break, unfortunately. But there were a lot of references that I didn't get. And if I saw a rubber duck, I would have pointed it out, and I didn't see one for some reason.
Yeah. The one that I remember right off the bat was in the well. When you go down the well and fight or sorry, not the well. When you go down, I think there might have been one actually in the well. But when you go to the Valhalla nursing home, that boss fight, there's a rubber duck you walk like and floating around where you do the actual boss fight.
Yep.
Yeah. That was the one I remember seeing.
Damn.
Yeah, there's
my eyes open.
A bunch everywhere. Like, if you just keep trying to explore, like I was obsessive with this game. I saw on IGN they said it took 17 hours to beat. They said it took 17 hours to beat. I think I took 32. I was like, I'm gonna find everything and see everything, and I would spend time just sitting there theory crafting. Like, all right, hold on, what could this mean? What is this thing? Yeah, that's what I love about these games. Is it's like the same level of giving you the ability to create what's going on in your head that a Dark Souls game would give you without the stress of playing a Dark Souls game. It's the exact same vibe.
Sure. Yeah. I think you're fine with horror games, one would say, right? You don't mind the spookies. Yeah. For me, this was more
You give me a
stressful.
gun, I'm fine with horror games. If I don't have a gun, I'm like,
You're
why
out.
why can't I throw these things at them? Why are they chasing me? Oh yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's start here then. Let's get to the spoilers. Jesse, tell me why the deer. What's the deal with the deer? I didn't understand anything with the deer. Is it because she's a sage or some shit? Is that? I don't know why there were 8 deer that you could touch, and then a deer let you into a hotel room, and you got a bunch of stuff from it.
So I think it all stems from Deer Fest.
Yeah.
And the fact that the town's using deer, and the fact that 90% of the art on the walls and photos is like of deer or of people hunting deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning of the game, when you come out of the lake, there's like dead deer everywhere.
Right.
There's a lot of symbolism in the. Yeah.
I think JP's question is, what is Saga's connection to the deer? Is that correct?
I mean, why? Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. I mean, why the deer ultimately? Because the Deer Fest is everywhere.
I had that kind of question too, though. Like, I know why deer in general, because of Deer Fest, and it's a thing. Like, coming from Montana, we have weird like festivals like that.
Yeah.
So but her connection, her personal connection to touching like deer and stuff like that, that confused me. Like, I wondered what that was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as you keep touching the deer, it's very obvious that she is not a fan of like
hunting.
them being hunted. But really, at its core, the deer are just another crazy ass manifestation of stuff from the Cauldron Lake. Like, it is just warping reality and changing reality. And so it's just another one of those things where the town is deer themed, and deer appear around the town, and it's just another kind of like, shit be weird here, dude. Like, things are weird.
Yeah.
And so it's less of like, oh, that's very important, and more of just flavor for the world that you're currently in. It makes it a little bit weirder if, you pet a deer, and then in your mind place, the deer's like, 4 left for 4 remaining. You're like, what? Yeah. It's just more creepy kind of, well, this place is strange. What's going on here? But it's also a lot of red herring stuff, because a lot of the deer things are meant to throw you off.
Well, so as soon as they introduced Thor and Odin, and then the whole like, I'm your grandpa type deal, and that she has the mind place, and she could like all that shit, I immediately was like, oh, is this like a Norse thing, right? Is that all red herrings, or is that the question not answered? Or like, is her mom Freya, and that's why she's a seer and has a relationship to deer? Or is none of that a thing? That's where my mind is like, I don't know if any of that is real.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all open to interpretation. They really don't spell it out to you. But deer in Norse mythology is a thing.
Yeah.
I do not know their names, but I know specifically there are deer that like munch on Yggdrasil. I don't know if they eat the tree or they eat like the stuff that falls off the tree, but it's like a thing. And so if you have Valhalla Nursing Home, and you have Thor and Odin and Baldur, you have all these, like, there are connections. Clearly there are connections, and they want you to make those assumptions, but I don't think they're going to spell it out for you.
Yeah. Do you think they ever will?
Also, it's been kind of a running theme. I think that it's more
all the games,
reaction to their heritage. Well, not necessarily in all the games, but I think in this case, they wanted to kind of focus on it to draw the connections between the familiar bonds. So that was just one of the methods that they used to kind of make that a more concrete thing, to make it so there were actual breadcrumbs between it, like using, familial themes that were already established.
Sure. Yeah. I suppose that makes sense.
Oh, interesting. I just looked this up because I was like, okay, I gotta know. So obviously Sam and team do their homework, and the scenes when you're in the mind place, and she's like sitting there, and then behind her is that deer head. But like when it starts to get all weird, you see that only the antlers in the shadow. Apparently, the antlers are an extension of the part of the head of the deer. This refers to an expansion of one's mind and consciousness. So that's another fun little thing to throw it in there.
Like thematically and Norse mythology.
Yeah. In Norse mythology, yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, I'm glad that I actually caught that. not the actual meaning of it, but I was like, they set that up so those shadow horns come out of her head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
That's cool.
The other thing too is it's been a while since I've played Control. You were kind of asking what our knowledge is of everything. I've played everything except for Quantum, whatever the fuck it was called. Yeah, Quantum Break. I think Cohh was the only one of the three of us to play that. Zeke, did you play Quantum Break?
No.
Yeah,
that was one of the remedies I missed.
It was let me just jump back real quick to that. How much of a tie-in is there apart from the sheriff? Like,
there's a great deal. So the three major things from Quantum Break are one, the swirly symbol, the symbol
Break?
that's on all the doors
On the
in Alan
writing
Wake
doors.
2 and in Control. Yeah, that shows up in that game. So it's very clear early on they were going to use that for something, right? That had a point. That shows up in Quantum Break. Obviously, in Quantum Break, Jack Joyce, I hope that's his name, Sean Ashmore, he is the main character of that. And he is like the time jumping guy, right? He quantum breaks. Fun thing, his name in Alan Wake 2 is Tim Breaker, which is very close to Time Breaker.
Time Breaker.
In Quantum Break, one of the characters that is constantly giving poor Jack a hard problem is a man named Mr. Hatch. And
Mr.
he
Hatch
is played by Lance Reddick, who
Door.
passed away. And now in this game is Mr. Door. And the fun thing is when you see Tim on his notes that he writes on his whiteboard, he literally has a whole thing where it's like door, or he's like portal. It's all thesaurus for all these different things. The only thing left out is Hatch, right? Which is like, okay, they wanted us to see that. In the game, in Alan Wake 2, on his little board, he has a whole thing about like, there's this redheaded woman, and sure, you could absolutely think that is Jesse Faden, but Courtney Hope, the same actress, is a character in Quantum Break. So like, they are leveling it on, and I think the reason why they're not coming out and just absolutely saying stuff is because they don't own Quantum Break and they don't own Max Payne.
Yeah,
so they're
exactly
just
right.
like.
Which brings up an interesting question. Would we have seen Jesse McFadden instead of the redhead in Quantum Break? Or vice versa? If like, did they, for Control, was that supposed to be a similar character, do you think? Or was that supposed to be just completely,
so I
maybe
think
a different version of her?
In Control, it absolutely is a different person.
Yeah.
But Alan Wake 2 posits that there are multiple, so like, the way
That's what
it
I'm
works,
talking about, yeah.
Yeah, so like the way it works in Alan Wake 2 is that there are realities and then dimensions. And so there's like, I'm not sure which is which really, but basically there are things like the Hiss place or the Dark place, right? Those are their own things. And then there's like alternate realities, which are the Max Payne reality and the Quantum Break reality. And they are and they both can exist. But the main reality is the Control reality. Like the one that, like, that's our real
old house,
world.
the oldest house.
Yeah, that's our real world. But the oldest house next to all those things.
Right. So you're saying that Alan Wake's 2 world is not the same world as the oldest house world?
No, it is. Alan Wake's 2
Okay,
Alan Wake 2 is in the exact same world as Control, same as Alan Wake 1.
And that's, quote, the real world.
Yes, but Max Payne and Quantum Break are alternate realities, which is what Tim says. Like, look, I've seen other versions of myself.
Right.
And so basically that's the hint that like, okay, so Tim is also Jack, but he's not, they're not going to say it because they don't own the property, but like, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Did chat inform me now and inform me multiple times throughout the playthrough that in Quantum Break, the plot of Alan Wake 2 is on a
yes,
board.
The books.
It's on the books or something like that.
Very early on in the game. There's the books that say initiate, return, all that kind of stuff. They're actually on a thing in Quantum Break.
There's a chalkboard that like lists out stuff. Basically, what ended up happening is they were going to make an Alan Wake 2 and then didn't. For whatever reason, I'm sure it was something that happened, and so they made Quantum Break instead. So like they had Alan Wake 2 planned.
Yeah,
it was the thing that was going to happen, and it just didn't.
Sure.
For 13 years.
Right, for 13 years, which they tied in to the into the meta of it all, which is kind of cool.
Have we, by the way, just a little side note, have we agreed on what we call like the RCU, the Remedyverse? Like, what do we call it?
I don't know. They haven't really said anything themselves, but
Okay.
I don't know what like, the
heard,
fandom is calling it either.
I have had many people call it Remedyverse.
Remedyverse?
Yeah, Remedyverse makes sense.
Remedyverse. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're making, I mean, the coolest thing about this whole thing is, again, like Jesse was talking about, tying it back to Control, the fact that they can really do anything with this story and narrative because of the AWE thing. Where, I mean, they can, those things have unlimited power. They're completely unexplored. They can basically do whatever they want with them to use them as mechanical devices, machines.
Yeah.
And now, you know, we're seeing like Alan Wake 2 is just exploring one of the plethora that are available for them to do. So yeah, it's a very wild thing. I mean, they could get to the point where they justify why Quantum Break and Max Payne aren't around in the universe because of an AWE. They could just make up an AWE that makes it like that. Those schism off and split off for some reason, you know. So it's a very cool premise that they're playing with right now.
They do very smart things where they don't ever specifically spell stuff out. They'll give you enough clues for you to figure it out yourself. There's nothing that they're like, this is exactly what it is. Like a great example in Alan Wake 2, there's a lot of footage and talk about that creepy ass movie that Tom Zane made. If you watch, did you watch the whole film?
I watched the whole film
in the movie theater.
Yeah, which was a fucking weird ass movie, but it had so many parallels.
It's like, it's absolutely insane. But the thing about that is, if you're like a huge Control nerd like me, you're like, hold up. You go back, you look at one of the DLCs, and part of the story was the fact that there is a camera, like a movie camera, that's been floating around throughout, you know, the universe of Remedy, that whenever it films something, it brings it to life. And it's like, okay, hold up. If that camera existed in the 60s, could Thomas Zane have used that to make his film? And that's why everything is like happening.
And he could have created Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Like Alan Wake could have just be a creation of Thomas Zane.
And there's
which is
so
why they
many
look similar
things.
and why they have, absolutely.
That's why Ati calls him Tom.
Yeah,
like, there's so many different
cool
things. Yeah, and so it's like,
why
okay,
he finds Thomas Zane in the room and
was.
it's him.
Yes,
but even Thomas is acting like it's a different person and that he knows what's going on. And then Thomas and the anyway, sorry, go ahead.
no, and in that room, the Control team is trying to contact him in that room, and they're like, yo, Alan, like, why would they contact Thomas Zane's room? You know, like that kind of stuff where it's like, hold up, what is actually happening in this story? And I think that's very,
and who
very
knows
smart
what, most importantly. Like, are the people at Control aware of what Thomas is and what Alan is? And like they get there and they keep calling Alan, like, yeah, he does have the potential to be involved with the AWE, but they call Alan an AWE. They're saying he is the AWE. So if they know that, are they saying that they know Thomas Zane created him and he's this fictitious character that was created by the second? So yeah.
Here's the thing, in the Dark Place verse, you can't create.
They also called him a pair-utilitarian. That's true. Yeah.
You can't create something out of nothing, right? So, and Alan Wake must exist. He's just manipulated by the story. So the question is like, all right, well, who are these people? Like, what's going on? Maybe Alan is like, maybe it's one of those things where it's like Alan, Scratch, and Thomas are like an id, ego, super ego situation. Like, who knows? Who knows what's going on with them?
Yeah,
that's a cool idea.
Or they're all the same.
Yeah.
Well, we know Scratch and Alan are the same.
We know that Scratch and Alan are the same. We know that Scratch is basically the possessed version of Alan, but it's the same person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then the whole thing that they never really explain is the Tom Allen connection. And I was really hoping they were going to do that by the end of the game, make that a lot more clear. They decided to go ahead and make concrete the connection between Alan and Scratch, but they never make the connection between Tom, Alan, why Ati calls him that, and all of that stuff. There's got to be something much deeper there.
Yeah.
So like I wonder if that's going to be something they kind of flirt with later. I'm sure it will be, but it's crazy stuff.
I'm reading all the different things from checks. There's so many other threads. Like Jesse knows Tom Zane is a poet, not a movie director.
Yep.
The FBC tells her that she's wrong. And then and I think, don't they even call him Tom the Poet? Doesn't even Ati call him Tom the Poet?
Yeah, one of his last book is literally that. The one that he goes missing at.
Oh, right. That's the name of the book. Is Tom the Poet, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the film.
Right.
The film.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those things where if you watch the full film, it's like, hold up. How is Alex Casey here? How is Ati doing the music for it? Like, there's all these different things, and it makes you, again, question 90% of this game. I always knew what was going on, but then every time would be like, but is this real? Is what I think true? Or is this another, like...
Well, they do that at the very end.
Is any of this real?
I mean, that's the end of the game, too, which we haven't really discussed, but, like, I was kind of upset when the credits rolled, and I knew nothing. Like, there was no...
Well, dude, I love the fact
there's
they
no
never had the girls... They
information.
never had the woman's daughter pick up the phone.
Yeah, that's
that
like
was
the
just
Inception fucking thing, and that pissed me off, too.
That was wild. That was
Like, I
wild.
wanted to know. And who knows if they'll go back. They might, but I'm sure there'll be more questions if they ever revisit that in Alan Wake 3 somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 DLC coming, so we'll get something. We're definitely going to get an FBC DLC, which will give us a lot more knowledge about what's going on in Control 2 potentially.
Yeah.
Because I was having trouble because there's a whole bit where they're like, yeah, ever since the Federal Bureau of Control went silent, I'm like, hold up. How did that happen? And I tried to figure out, like, mentally what the timeline was, and I guess maybe because it's 2023 in this game, and all the stuff in Control, I thought maybe the Alan Wake DLC in Control took place during the same time as this. Nah, the message at the end is from the future.
Yeah.
So clearly there's something still going on in the oldest house.
You ready for this? You ready for something we talked about at the end of my run? That I'm going to take a big stab here. It's a big stab.
Hit me.
Here we go. They never explain why this stuff's happening in 2013. They have a monitoring station there. Everything's flipping out. Everything just happens. My guess, Control 2 is going to be in parallel with Alan Wake 2, and it's going to be about AWEs all over the world activating for some unknown purpose at the same time, and Alan Wake is just one of them. So the oldest house is going to go dark. Control 2 is going to be trying to figure out why that's happening, and Alan Wake 2 is just one of many different events happening all at the same time that you're going to be dealing with in Control 2, trying to bring the oldest house back online and getting all these AWs under control.
So I love that idea, but my posit for you is before Control 2, we're going to get a 4-player co-op Control-esque game. That is one of the 2 games they're working on.
Really?
And I wonder if it's going to be like a Left 4 Dead thing where if you're going around to different AWEs as a team to stop, like that could be fun.
Or what if that's the entire precursor to the house getting taken over and shut down? What if that game is defending against whatever is trying to shut down the house, and at the end of that game is when it wins and all the events start for Alan Wake 2 and Control 2?
I mean, I'm here for all of it. Like in my mind, I'm waiting for the Avengers moment. You know, like this is clearly
where Jesse and Alan Wake meet up. Is that what's the Avengers moment?
I'm talking Jesse, Alan, Tim, bring everyone.
Yeah.
Saga can show up, everyone can show up. I want it to be like, now we're gonna get real weird.
Mr. Door, we figure out who he is, and he's been on our team the whole time.
I mean, like, it's fun. Like, Mr. Door as a character is great because that dude is like a Q level enigma. He is everywhere and nowhere. His name is just like Mr. Door because he's between the doorway of all realities. And he's not a good guy. He's not really a bad guy. He's just kind of like, y'all keep dragging me into this bullshit, and I hate it. And he's like, Alan, grow up. Like, you're making your own troubles, dude. Like, he's very interesting and is definitely 100% Saga's dad.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yep.
Yeah,
completely, 100%.
Yeah, I thought so too.
By the way, so in this crazy stuff behind me, let me see if I can get the spelling right. But Mr. Door, as we know, is potentially Freya's husband, Saga's dad, and in Norse mythology, Freya is married to Odur, something like that, and I think that's very cute if that's where they pulled that from.
And then it also worked with like the parallel to Hatch, like the fact that there's no way that's just a coincidence that they've been cooking on that for this long.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Also, Freya's husband was known as the guy who traveled between realms. So like,
oh, do you even? I mean, oh man, is
That,
this
like,
entire
solidifies
game just going to be like Norse mythology?
That's
like,
what
just
I
some
hope,
kind of
but-
retelling of Norse mythology.
I hope that, but everyone, like when I brought that up, everyone was like, "No, that's not. It's all they're just names. That's like a red herring." Like,
I don't
no,
believe it. I mean, it very well
I don't
could
know.
be.
Like even in Control, like Ati and
but Ati's
Yggdrasil-
Finnish.
He is. But didn't he? What? I forget. What was his relationship to the trees? He. Because in Control, remember
Ati-
when you go to where you see all the roots
he was
or
in
whatever?
a forest.
He was
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
forest? Is that what it was? Okay.
And that
think so.
forest was like the cabin that he's at in Control is in Alan Wake 2.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And so again, they leave so many little breadcrumbs. Like when you go see Ati in like the foundations of the oldest house, there's literally like a chiseled drawing of what has to be Yggdrasil. Like
right.
has
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah. That's what I remember.
And when you complete the maze, he gives you the headset and he's like, these are some of my friends. And so like clearly he knows the old gods of Asgard, right? But Ati is basically like a Finnish water deity. So I mean, like Mr. Door could be something from another pantheon of gods. Like who knows? Like it could be a whole thing. Like maybe there's alternate realities and maybe there's different things. And they all are just like, we're just trying to save the world, y'all. And you guys make it very hard. Keep it open portals and weird things.
Yeah.
A little search. Freya was married to Odd, also spelled Odur, Odur, about whom little else known except that they had a daughter named Hanas, who was said to be beautiful, blah, blah. Odd was often away on travels. When he was gone, Freya wept tears of pure gold in her longing for him. Sometimes she traveled in search of Odd and adopted other names. So her looking for it, there's parallels for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's very clear that they take a lot of time to grab onto things, but never like I imagine most of their writing is obfuscation, where they're just like, yeah, okay, this is what it is. How do we make it seem like that's not the case? You know what I mean? I feel like they have a lot of that.
It's the kind of thing where they come up with the end of the story first, and then they kind of trace that backwards and wanting to breadcrumb as best they can without actually divulging anything for sure.
Yeah.
Which I think is brilliant. And I think that lends to exactly what Jesse was talking about at the beginning, which makes this game so fun, is because sometimes they give you like that one little perfect sentence that will tip you off the slightest bit to what's going on. Like I got to admit, the time skip thing, that threw me for a full loop. That was awesome. I loved that. That was the first time when I was actually like, oh, like there was nothing about like, this is awesome. Okay. I knew the Alan Wake thing and Scratch thing when he came out. I was like, okay, is that Alan or Scratch? Like that was a little bit of a thing.
Yeah, it was.
But the whole
totally
like
Scratch.
the summoning then did the thing back then, that ties into like time travel, which they don't really play with too much with the rest of it. Like it brings up a whole lot of other questions.
Yeah.
The minute that
that was
happened,
cool.
The minute it
Time
happened
is a
when it was
loop,
a
not a
time
spiral.
traveling thing, I was like, hold on. If time travel relates to the dark place has no time. Does that mean potentially the Alex Casey in the dark place was the Alex Casey that got sucked in later in the game, but he was in the past? And like anything is possible at that point. You can literally, anything could be true. It could be like the Alex Casey that Alan saw earlier in the game was actually the Alex Casey that got taken over by Scratch later in the story, and then he got sucked in the dark
You mean
place.
in the alley?
And then he's like back in the beginning messing with Alan. Like anything is possible at that point because time has no meaning in the dark place.
Right.
Like someone in my chat is like,
Is it-
I'm so lost, but I love everyone's energy.
That's Alan Wake in a nutshell. That's that game. I mean, it's 20 hours
the
of
game-
confusion.
Like JP was saying, the whole idea of at the end it being like, was the kid real? Who knows? It does because Alan Wake, like Control is a different beast. Like Control, if you had to do like what is the Remedyverse? Control will be the first thing you talk about. This idea of like, this is what's real. These are the rules. There's the objects of power and alter world events and all these different things. And you start from there. And then it'd be like, okay, one of those alter world events is Alan Wake and Bright Falls and Cauldron Lake. And in that alter world event, what is real? Who knows? The whole thing is like it's altering reality. And so a great example is Ati, who we know from Control to have some sort of powers because he can pop up anywhere and he's always like mopping up the trouble. In this, he's doing the same thing in the Dark Place, but then when he's in our reality at Bright Falls, there's literally a whole moment where Rose is like, oh, Auntie, he got in the janitor's closet again, and he likes doing that. He's old and senile. Just ignore him. And you're like, okay, what is happening here? And they purposefully do that because they're awful. The Remedy devs are like,
because they're awful.
But I guess that raises the question: if this, because you're talking about Rose when she says that, were those thoughts implanted because of Alan Wake's writing, and he saw Ati in the Dark Place, and that's why he wrote him into the story? But then then Ati's in the 3rd floor of that building at the nursing home and lets him into the writing room.
Yeah.
So I don't.
So the one thing I figured out that I think is true is that, you know, the moment when there's sort of like that climax where Alan's like, I have to write my way out. Saga, you and I need to work together.
Yeah.
And we're going to make like a good story. But he says, you can't just bullshit your way out of a story. Like you can't, he's like, I'm my own Deus Ex Machina, but you can't like just create an ending out of nothing. Cause that's not how story, like he's like, good stories don't just like create nothing, like create some bullshit ending. You have to leave the breadcrumbs there. My thought process is at that moment, because time does not matter anymore, all the things that were breadcrumbs along the way are things he went back and put in the story, right? And so a great example of that is Rose as a character. Rose, the entire time Saga's like, what do you mean you're getting little notes from Alan? She's like, oh yeah, Alan sends me stuff all the time.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that I think was retconned back into the story so that Rose is involved with it. And she's like, oh yeah, he sends me notes. He sends me these things. And even Alan, when he's just like, I don't remember all that. But then that puts the idea in his head to send those things to Rose because Rose is 100% a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all the things that make no sense. She's like, oh yeah, he sent me letters and like newspapers and like in the clouds there was something. That's him adding it in so that by the end of the story it makes sense. And that's how he can escape.
Someone in chat just kind of threw
There's a Star Trek episode about that.
yeah. Someone in chat said, but what if Alice is the one leaving the notes for Rose?
I mean, look, it very well could be, but I feel like the hint is that Alan went back and changed the story. I'm curious. Alice seems to be the one who is helping Alan. As we see, Alice is like, F it, I'm going back in the Dark Place. So all the things that helped Alan escape were because Rose was working on that as well. And I'm sure that will be a deal. Probably the first DLC will be a little bit of Alice and Alan.
The names of the DLC are out, right? I forgot what they were. Let me.
The second one is definitely the lake house or whatever it is. It's the one that is blocked off in this game.
Night Springs and the lake house. And I think Night Springs is the first one. And Night Springs is it's the TV show that
yes.
Who's in it? Scary Door.
Yeah.
It's the Alan Wake used to write episodes for it. And it's kind of just like, you know,
it's like the Twilight Zone type show. Shit. Yeah. But there's a thing at the very end though. I remember when Saga is in the mind place in her mind place in the dark place.
In the dark place, yeah.
Which is just a weird sense. She looks at the TV or something, and I remember she says like, "Oh, that was my father's and so and so's favorite show," or something like that.
Well, no. She says that's her daughter's and husband's favorite show to watch.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it's. Yeah. Yep. David, her husband, and I forget blanking. What's her daughter's name?
Yeah.
Logan. Yeah. So I wonder what that
show.
Like, I don't know what that DLC is then. If it's those shows or.
Well, so in Alan, I'm sure they'll do something different. But in Alan Wake 1, for example, the first DLC was literally like, we're going to shoot stuff. Pew, pew, pew. Let's make the combat. And then the second DLC was like, yo, this is full story. We're going to give you a bunch of stuff. And then American Nightmare was like, you want to know who Scratch is? Let's talk about Scratch. And so that was, they may just make these very story heavy, but we may get one that's like we're gonna do a lot of shooting and a lot of boss fighting, and like in Control when it was like this whole thing, we're gonna fight a bunch of mold for a while, and you're like,
oh, that's right. I remember the
I hate
fucking
the
mold
mold.
DLC. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I hate the mold.
I hated that shit. Yeah.
But that was fun because what it taught you about Control is that the hiss were like no big deal in comparison. You know what I mean? Like there's clearly other terrible things out there.
Yeah.
So I think that's super interesting. By the way, speaking of like what's going on in her head, the thing I absolutely loved is if you explored her head at the beginning of the game, you would find the letter from the mom or the stuff about her daughter or all that stuff was there. And so that's why I think the kid is real, because before she starts getting manipulated, there's things in her head from her life. And then at the end of the game, she uses that to get out of the dark place.
That's
We can assume the kid is real because of Tor and Odin. Like they confirm that those kids exist, that she was there, that all actually happened. I was definitely questioning that a little bit towards the end too, and then really kind of went back and thought about it, and they confirm her very much that is actually a thing. I think the whole phone call at the end thing is more not to say if she's real or not, but to see if they got there in time to change the story and how that was going to affect it. Which makes it even more kind of like of a mind effery.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry,
Cool stuff.
I'm
what else you got, chat? I'm ready.
I'm wrapping my head around all that still. Yeah.
So for this thing, I wonder if the daughter really died, but it was just so much. She has physical items from her child being alive after the point that the story said she drowned. So it is much more than just like her not accepting the truth. It is much more of a, did she get physically removed from reality via the story? Yeah. That's the big thing they kind of play with.
Well, is there any other within the game or within the Remedyverse, I guess, is there any other instances of Alan affecting things outside of the town besides the daughter?
No, at this point, no. So
because everyone understanding that AWEs they're contained, right?
They're localized events.
They're localized events, yeah.
Doesn't one of the Control people say something that makes Saga question if she's part of the story? I'm trying to remember. I think one of the Control people say something.
Yeah, so there's...
Oh, man.
Basically, unlike the Hiss in Control, the Hiss are kind of like a virus. They just want to spread. That's it. That's all they want to do. Which, by the way, shout out to the Remedy team for just constantly thinking ahead. Or at least being creative enough to use tidbits they leave, like the threads they leave dangling. Because in Control, Jessie goes to see her brother. And her brother, they have a conversation where he's like, he keeps talking about his weird dreams. And in one of his dreams, it's literally like, I met this guy named Mr. Door. And he could walk between realities. And I was like, hey, what if you let me and my Hiss friends like go through to a different reality? And he was like, no. I was like, I didn't like Mr. Door very much. Like, that's a thing that's in Control. It exists. So they were clearly like, all right, we'll just leave that in there. And if we come back to it, we come back to it. But it's a thing. And so I think, the Hiss are just kind of like a virus. The dark place is malevolent. It wants out. It is trying to
the dark conscious.
It's an entity, right? Yeah.
It's a thing.
And it wants to like consume. And so they do a really great job of making the lake in the game grow and contrast and expand as you like fight back against it or as it starts to take over towns. And basically its power is growing. And that's why it's like rippling and bubbling over, it's more of an ocean instead of a lake, right? And it's trying to expand and take over as much as possible. And it's using its dark place energy to sort of change the story. And so I think
call that DP energy.
Dude, the DP energy. And it is trying to, a bubbling cauldron. It's trying to bubble over and take over our reality. And that's why that's dangerous, because it's expanding. And so the idea that, oh my God, this could end up in Virginia, even though we're in Washington, that could be trouble. And so I think that's what it's trying to say. But most, I think, are contained, or something like the Hiss, where it's another reality. Like, this is very bad. Like, this is a bad thing that's happening. It's not a thing that happens all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So real quick, just clarify this for me. As far as the Cauldron Lake and the dark place, they're two separate things, or does the dark presence make Cauldron Lake?
The dark
thing.
presence exists in the dark place.
Yes.
And Cauldron Lake is a threshold or an overlap. It is literally just a doorway.
Okay.
There's a great example. There's like notes, I think, about how like animals, birds, like birds don't even fly over the lake. Like they sense something awful in that lake.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of ever since. And again, when did it open? Who knows? It could have been when Tom Zane was there. It could be way before that, and it's always been there.
It could be after. Now it's just messing with us because time travel.
Maybe, yeah. They mention early, I think it's early in the game, that it's or maybe it's just a random thing that you find in that hut in the forest. They mentioned that Cauldron Lake was a volcano or is on top of a volcanic something or other.
It's a caldera.
Yeah. So
Caldera.
is that the scientific reason for this? Is that there's like all these fucking volcanic gas, or are they just saying like, no, maybe that has something to do with why it is what it is, but maybe not. Who knows?
We generally do not know what was the catalyst to open that portal to the dark place.
Okay.
Like it isn't revealed yet.
Yeah.
Like we learn in Control what caused the hiss to come through because the scientists and stuff were messing around with stuff they probably shouldn't have been messed with, and the hiss got into their heads and made them keep the portal
Hitched
open.
a ride. Kind of like, funny enough, our buddy Scratch in Alan Wake.
Yep.
Which could mean there's some kind of like maybe the hiss is just an extension of whatever the dark place is in a less conscious aptitude.
Yeah, I think one of the big things to take away from all of it is, first off, the power of rock always defeats evil. But more importantly,
we need to spend some more time on that, but please finish your thought.
but more importantly, that like the hiss, as we learn, is like one type of resonance. And Polaris is another type of resonance. And I would assume that the music of the old gods of Asgard is another, like basically it's one of those like universal language things, but instead of it being like the lyrics, it's about the sound that's created, sort of like a positive versus negative energy.
We also don't know if the extent of the powers that Saga and Odin and Thor have stops at them just being able to read minds. Like that very well could have something to do with the fact that their music has such a catalytic effect. Granted, we know that art specifically can act as a medium that Dark Place can use, but at the same time, like there's clearly something else going on with that, which is also really interesting because when you look at them in the musical section of the game, they're significantly younger.
Yeah.
Which means that when they go in at the end of Alan Wake 2, they could have gone back to do that thing in there, like at the earlier part of the game at a younger time. Like it's wild to think if that's the age that they were in there, then maybe how long have they known about all this? Like at what point in their lives did they go in and do that and then come out? And how did they know all this stuff was going to happen? You know, maybe their powers are related or maybe even influenced by that. Yeah, wild stuff, man.
I mean, the whole point of Odin is that he literally has an eye that can see the future.
Right.
Like that's his vibe.
Well,
so
even during, and chat just brought this up as well, even during the scratch fight at the end, the projections behind the band when they're on top are the young versions of themselves.
And more importantly, Baldur's there. And Baldur dies of cancer in reality.
In reality, yeah.
So the fact that he is also playing with them signals that is sort of beyond space and time.
Or it happened earlier.
It could
have happened earlier in their life.
That's true. Yeah.
Another interesting thing with the time travel that someone pointed out in chat, and good catch there, when she talks to her husband at the beginning of the game, the husband is acting like he had received a bunch of weird messages from her. So it's kind of like, is he receiving that call after she had made all those panicked voicemails to him throughout the game?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So it's kind of like the whole, you know, time is not a loop, it's a spiral kind of thing. But like, what if the whole events that transpired around that were like not exactly in order?
And that's what makes the game fascinating, is when you think about it as a spiral, it's clearly a spiral down. Like the dark place as a concept is like, I think every creative, I'm sure everyone on the screen right now has had a moment where you've just like been in your own head and you just absolutely are feeling like terrible. And like your own thoughts are eating you up.
Oh,
and I think,
the thematically it's depression, right? Like it's the whole,
but it's also like if you screw up majorly, your first reaction for a lot of people is when you're called out on it to lash out at someone.
Yeah.
And so you both hate yourself and now you're hating someone else, even though it's all a you thing. You're just making it worse. And that's sort of like what Alan's doing is he's spiraling down. And the fascinating thing, and I think where we get our answers is, if we go back up the spiral, we should, in theory, hit the starting point. Like the catalyst of all of it. We should get there. We're going to end up, like, who is Thomas Zane really? Who is Alan Wake really? What is Alec Casey's deal? Like, we'll just keep going up, and then we'll hit something that's like, okay, this is what started it all. And that's what's super interesting. I have no idea what that's going to be.
Yeah, I don't. Does that mean we go back to like the 70s? To
Means we go back to the
time,
future.
I mean, like,
I mean, Doc Brown just shows up and says like, Alan, we gotta go. It's about your kids, and you're like, what the fuck are we doing?
Alan's like, I have kids, and then it just blacks out, and that's the DLC.
That's the
right
end
there.
of Alan Wake 3. There's a train somehow, and it's flying around. It'd be great. It'd be 10 out of 10. Yeah. Chad was asking, like, outside of theories, what is your favorite part of the game? I'd love to have everyone voice. I'll go first. Mine was when Saga goes into the dark place, and that whole scene outside of now I'm blanking on it. What is the what's the game that's getting the sequel that's on Xbox about like depression and mental illness and
Oh, you're talking about Hellblade Sensuin?
yeah,
Sacrifice?
outside of Hellblade. That for me was like one of the best representations of depression in media that I've ever experienced, where she's like going through, seeing all the things and like having them read out exactly how someone would think when they're literally spiraling down that, and then how to like climb out of it. I love that whole sequence, even if it was just like, let me just take this little note and put it here. Let me just take
That was
like,
at the end, right?
Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I love
Okay.
that entire sequence. Even more so than the other parts were very good when they do like all the different, the musical and like the rock moment at the end during the fight. Those are great. But I specifically love that one moment at the very end, in the Mind Palace in the dark place. What about you, Zeke? What was like your favorite, your go-to moment?
I mean, I love the music video. Like everybody, the interactive music video, that was, fantastic. But outside of that, it was the climax. What I think I might be the only like sort of like, I enjoyed the game, but I might be the only like sort of voice of dissent as far as like,
Yep.
this game didn't like blow me away. Like, and I talked about it at length after the credits rolled and stuff, or during the credits roll. Like, I felt like I'm a fool or an idiot. Like, why don't I love this as much as everyone else did?
Mm-hmm.
And the part you were talking about, I have thoughts about that. But favorite parts, like the climax, the rock and roll, like that was awesome. That made me it was tense. It was a difficult fight, and it was the culmination of like all your favorite like characters are in there, and we're all like on the same side, good versus evil, so to speak. And that was the part that I felt like, I jammed the hardest. It was fucking awesome. I really, really enjoyed that.
Sure.
Obviously the music video was very well put together. I don't know. Is there a name that people are calling it? Like, I don't know what else.
I think
they
the
call it,
musical, I think is
yeah,
what everyone.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the musical part that obviously was really cool. But like, while I enjoyed that, it didn't like the intensity of that final battle was fucking great.
Yeah. Jesse, what about you? What was your, if you had to like pitch Alan Wake to someone by naming your favorite moment, what would it be? Not worrying about
Man.
spoilers. Let me give you that as well, so you don't have to be
Yeah,
like,
no,
I don't
I
want to
mean,
spoil
my
it for him.
I have several favorite moments, but the best moment in the game, if I have to pitch anything to anyone, every Ilmo and Yako commercial in that game is brilliant. It
Yeah.
is so much fun. The scene where it's like, they say we can't get into government lands. Fuck the government. I was like,
It's maybe the
this
best.
is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. They're so funny. Every single one of them is so well put together. And it's just a dude from Vikings. It's like truly an amazing little bit. It reminds me of another version of the Threshold Kids from Control.
Yes.
And I loved those. I love the live action
God, I'd
stuff they
forgotten
do.
about those. Those were terrifying.
The live action stuff they do is so good, and it's so unique to what Remedy's making, the way they mix the two, and the fact that they get the actors who look exactly like the characters so they can do that and get away with it. It is some of the best stuff in those games. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last one was very sad, where he keeps throwing to his brother.
Oh,
and it's
he's
just
not there.
It's just like
Yeah.
you see like the little outline, like the dark outline of where his brother should be. It was very sad.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
it was sad.
Yeah. Cohh, what was your go-to moment for the game?
Man, I kind of like how the game. Okay, for me, it's more of the entire presentation. I really love how they kind of leaned into this whole thematic presentation. I really, really enjoyed. I didn't feel like the need to run almost at any point. Everything was just so meticulously cared for in terms of the presentation and the believability of the environments and everything. In terms of a specific thing, I wouldn't even know where to start. I really liked the wellness center. I thought that was really cool. That place is pretty horrifying.
The level of it.
Getting ready, to the getting into the wellness center and doing that part of it, and really kind of like the old folks home in general, I thought was really cool. But yeah, I mean, that was really at the end of the day, I liked almost all of it. Like it was really cool. I love the progression of like figuring out the cult and how that whole thing worked, and then learning it felt very much the whole time like I was watching a movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's tough to do that for a game because, movies are so much content crammed into such a short amount of time, and to keep that level of energy and intrigue up for an entire 20+ hour adventure is really difficult. But I feel like this game did it really well. And that's awesome.
They did a smart thing where they made it episodic, and every episode ended with a song, and it was literally like you were watching a Netflix show, but you were watching you were like, I'm going to watch it all this weekend. I'm going to get, like, it had that vibe where you wanted, all right, I would need to see what happens next in the next episode. Very well. You're absolutely correct. The way they put it together, very, very well done.
Yep. Zeke, what were you going to say?
I was just gonna ask someone in chat, brother sub, what difficulty did we all play on? I played on normal.
I was on normal.
Yeah, normal.
I think Cohh was on hard. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Cohh.
Just curious.
I mean, someone has to be a gamer on this show.
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
We got ourselves a game over here.
No, to be honest, the more I talked about it and talked to people, it didn't make that much of a difference. Like, hardest was not that much harder. I mean, yeah, there were a few times when, you get ganged up on and get put into a wall and the camera would be wonky and you die kind of thing. But it was by no means significantly more difficult than normal.
This might be a controversial opinion, but the combat's the weakest part of the game for me.
When the rest of the game shines so much,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think many would disagree with you, to be honest. I mean, somebody was quick to point out when I said I liked the game, there was like, there's 3 enemy types in the entire thing. And I was like,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's valid.
Yeah, that never bothered me for whatever reason, but they're right.
I mean, no, me too.
If I had
100%.
If I had it to do over again, I would have started on story mode. I wouldn't even have bothered with normal.
Yeah.
I would have done like, IGN reviewer difficulty, because the combat was unsatisfying in my opinion. It was all right. I mean, it had to be there to, break up the, it can't just be like a interactive movie. So you gotta have a little combat in there. I get it.
Yeah.
But like, honestly, it didn't shine, and
it was clunky. It was a little clunky.
It was slow. Exactly. And coming off of Control, there's no comparison. It's like,
sure.
Hey, we gave you crack. Would you like to try an aspirin
coffee? Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I love how
I forgot
down
about
the screen
this.
below is like one of the stupidest, funniest moments of the game. And just seeing my reaction again to it, I was like, yeah, that checks out. That checks out.
Yeah. That was a really silly part.
Oh, he's a good boy. He's the best.
I also loved how earlier the guy's like, and he eats cats. cats, and I was just like, what is this man talking about?
Dude, what?
Like, he's a cat killer?
Yes.
Like, why do you keep mentioning this? And then you get to this part, and it's just like, oh.
'cause he's a dog.
I
The
wanted
bear's a
them
dog.
He's
to
a
do
dog.
more with God, what was his name on the radio? It starts with a T. He was in the very beginning.
Pat.
Well,
Oh, wait,
Pat,
are you talking about Pat?
yeah, Pat was
Yeah.
great, but
Yeah.
there's a guy in the Tapio. Tapio in the radio show had
Fabio
the
keeps
biggest
coming
laughs.
back, and he's great.
He
I
had
love
the
him.
biggest laughs for me out of the entire game.
When he's like, I've been on the line the entire time. I was like, this is. It is.
He's just
it
real
is-
stupid energy, and I love it.
It's
great.
so refreshing. This game, for as many times as it actively tries to scare you, it also tries to make you laugh a
Yeah.
lot. And I think that's very unique in the horror space. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like that's Remedy. If I had to describe them, it's like scary, funny. That's their scary, funny. That's the type of content they make. And that
Right.
was toned down, I think, in Control, but then it was like tuned up a lot for this. And I hope they go back to like this game for me, and this is just speaking for me, not necessarily for everyone. This was a pretty terrifying experience and not one that I typically do enjoy on any level. I would liken this to kind of like a Resident Evil, whereas for Resident Evil, I think I'm playing for the gameplay. This one I'm playing for the story, and it pulled me more so to play with that in mind. So like, if you are at all like not a fan of jump scares, it's probably still worth it. You might not even be listening to this because it is a spoiler cast,
Cynthia
but like,
sucks, dude.
yeah, I don't
Cynthia
like. I
is the
fucking
jump scare
Cynthia
queen. I
fucking
hate
sucked.
her.
She was the worst one.
All my homies hate
I was on the
Cynthia.
show like 2 weeks ago saying like, yeah, I gotta go to the fucking nursing. I fucking hate this place. I hate everything about this
sucks.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually curious for you. Was the water aspect of Cynthia also just like another level since you have thalassophobia?
Yeah, no, I was not. The minute it started rising, I was not okay. Thankfully, in my head, I mapped out exactly where I needed to go for that one puzzle where I did it instantly. Because if I had to run around in the water rush to chase me, if you watch that footage, I look like a man completely stone faced, but my butt is so clenched, and I'm trying not to lose my mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
I
that
thought
was
of you
unpleasant.
during that session because I was like, this is terrifying, but for Jesse, this has to be
Yeah,
about
I
10
hate-
times worse.
The gimmick of horror games where they have the water level, there's an invisible creature chasing you in the water, and all you can see is the ripples. I hate that. I've always hated it. I will ever
Amnesia
since
always
Amnesia.
did that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, not a fan. Hate that.
Yeah. That was the Amnesia gimmick. I remember watching a lot of creators do all that stuff. So
Oh yeah, no, thank you. Not a fan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Anything else we want to bring up? Any other thoughts on old Alan Wake 2?
Can't wait for Control 2, man. I tell
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
Remedy's at the top of their game.
No one's
it
doing
is-
it.
It is
No
gonna
one's
be-
making games like them. Hands
No
down.
one's making games like Remedy.
Yeah.
It's just
It really is
it's
like-
gonna be good.
The closest thing, there's a lot of games that are art, but this is the closest like AAA budget art. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of
Some of
indie games that are trying crazy things, but this is the only company out there that's like, let's take some insane like there's no way major companies would say, let's do a 14-minute musical in the middle of our game. Like right in the middle, we're just gonna stop all the horror and all the mystery. We're gonna do a 14-minute musical. Madness. And
It's
it works.
kinda cool.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely right. When we see this kind of thing, normally we don't get like what you would consider, I guess you would call the AAA well-funded version. And this year we got that in a CRPG and we got that in a horror action game.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
I don't know, man. I got 3 words for you.
What a thrill.
That the beginning of that is very art house. Like the beginning of that is extremely, but the rest of it,
It's just an action film.
it's
80 seconds.
yeah. I don't
Okay.
Still a cool thing though. Still a cool thing, regardless.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for
I've
sure.
been kind of waiting to bring this up, and I just wanted to know like what your guys' thoughts on it, if I'm crazy or whatever. But like, towards one of my biggest gripes in a lot of games, and I play a lot of like, well, not a lot, but I play a fair amount of Japanese games, and they have a trope where like the big bad is done, and then it's an hour's worth of just like epilogue wrapping shit up. This game had that, like when you were talking about like her putting the stuff up on the board and stuff,
Yeah.
I was still amped up from that fight. I thought like, okay, they're gonna do like a wrap up, you know, and I thought it overstayed its welcome, like that
Really?
last part, because I was so super amped. Like I love that last fight.
It is a high note for sure.
And yeah, and the band going into the water, like that was fucking dope. Like I absolutely loved it. And then it was just like, you know, like just put the controller down and just, you know, watch shit, or actually use the controller to put the shit and then put it down again, and then, you know, put another card up and stuff like that. I thought it like it took away my excitement from the thing, and I just was like, I felt like I was rushing, and I didn't want to feel like that. And in my opinion, I think they could have like transposed some of it to let the final fight have like, you know, leave you with that kind of taste. And I mean, is that it seems like I'm the only person who feels that way, but
I don't know if you're the only person that feels that way in the world, but maybe on this show you might be. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's fine.
I will
just wanna
say,
know, like,
yeah,
Because I
feel a lot of the
enjoyed
game
come
really
down.
shined in its
Yeah.
exposition. So
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
exactly. I think the come down is a good way to think about it. Like, I really liked that there was it felt more like a reward for what you did in some ways to get like actual answers and see the results of what you've been doing and things like that. But on that note, I know what you're talking about, and I can understand why you would, you know, say that. For
Yeah.
sure.
it just seemed like they kept like and I understand JP when you were talking about like the display of depression, like, and how they tackle that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It seemed like, for me personally, it seemed like it could have been edited a little bit more. It seemed like it was just over and over and over, like same point, different words, same point.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. For me.
Interestingly enough, I sometimes got that feeling with the, especially with some of the Alan Wake stuff and her in the, what was it, the profiling? Like that, I got that a little bit at times, where it's just kind of like, okay, I'm on the 5th different section I've clicked on. Just say what you mean to each other. You're trying to have a conversation. Just talk at each other. You know, it's kind of like that was. But I think again, that was more just because I was super interested in what was going on, and I really wanted to like see that, you know, progress. But
the game is, it's very verbose, and the writing in it is very much convoluted, like that. And it's kind of a cop out, but it's on purpose, right? For them to like be that ridiculous with the writing.
Well, the word goes back to what you said earlier, which is a perfect word for obfuscation.
Yeah,
like, they don't want to make it. They want to obfuscate what's going on and have you kind of feel it out yourself.
Yeah,
and I completely get that,
mystery.
but it's like handing someone handing someone something like a really expensive something, and you're like, it's really sour and it's salty, and like, ugh, and they're like, yeah, it's supposed to be. You're like, well, I don't like it. Then I guess.
Sure.
Oh,
like this is exactly the way it's supposed to taste. I didn't like it.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine with like being that, because it's a game that is clearly like, we're gonna tell you a mystery and we're gonna make it more mysterious on purpose. Like, there are moments in the game where they very clearly purposefully made it even more confusing, right? But there's also, I'm not saying I'm a better agent than Saga, but literally the first hour of the game, in the first hour of the game, they drop like an incredible tidbit, which is, as you're walking around, Alex and Saga have a conversation about like, what kind of cult calls themselves a cult? And at that moment I was like, cause it's not, it's all BS. And then as they drop breadcrumbs through the entire thing, I was like, oh, the cult is very, like, Ilmo and Yako and those guys, they're very clearly caught up in stuff, but they're trying to be good guys. The reason why they're being scary is they're trying to keep people out of the woods. And I figured that out like way early. And the fact that it isn't until later in the game where she's like, they're actually good guys, is like, Saga, are you kidding me right now? It's like, how do you
Where have you been?
She had the trauma of potentially losing her daughter. That was
sure. There's like a lot of moments like that where
I'll make excuses.
The game will not reveal to you the answer, even though if you've played and read the notes, it's very obvious what the answer is.
Sure.
Because it's trying to be like, here's what I'll say. after seeing people's reviews, I'm convinced most people who reviewed the game rushed their asses through it. I don't think they looked for stuff.
Probably.
I don't think because people were just like, oh yeah, some of the reveals later were shocking. I'm like, did you read the notes? Did you do all the side things?
I wasn't really shocked.
I don't know.
I wasn't necessarily shocked by any of the story in that regard.
I was intrigued
Like I
by
said,
the mystery.
the only thing in that game that actually made me jaw drop was when the time thing happened. Because I feel like that was one of the only things that they didn't really talk about. And because there were other things that could.
Are you saying
that was
specifically the moment when he shot
concert
himself?
And Alan, no. When Alan Wake, when they did the whole concert and everything happened, and we thought there was going to be a big ending, and she's like, "Wait, it did work, but it happened. But what we did now is why Alan came out of the lake at the beginning, essentially,
right?
Like that was like, oh damn, like okay, that's awesome. Like that's one of the only things in the game that really got me, and I thought that was fantastic how they did that.
Yeah.
Which also, now that I'm thinking about it, goes into even more confusion because that means that the Dark Place has control of time in the real world.
What exists outside of time, I think, is the other.
Well, no. The Dark Place is its own thing.
I don't know.
Though. Like it exists outside.
Well,
There's
here's
no
the thing.
time in the Dark Place.
Does that mean that the entire town is in the Dark Place?
Great
because
question. I think
it affected the time in the real. It infected infected. I'm going to call it the timing pacing of the real world, not what was going on in the Dark Place, but in
I think that's the answer to the phone call at the end. Like is the area infected by the Dark Place to the point where like we aren't given an answer as to did Saga even make it out? Because Alan's version of the Dark Place is literally New York, where he's from. And it's the dark version of that. And Saga is in the dark version of Bright Falls, which is, could that be her own Dark Place? I don't know. Did she make it out? We'll never know. I guess until a DLC.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's true.
Okay. Let me bring something up that was another like general, like overarching, like sticking point was the fact that when media deals with reality shifting or time travel or anything like that, it means that anything can be anything. Like, does that not, like, for me, it takes weight off of everything in the story that is happening because it could either not be real or it can be changed by time travel. Like, nothing matters because you can change it. And that bothers me.
What you're saying is why I don't like the Marvel universe with the multiverse stuff. Same reasoning, but in different times. But the thing that I really like about what I'm seeing in Alan Wake is there's two different types of kind of ways to deal with that from a story mechanism perspective. One of them is that everything's already happened, and the other is, well, we can just go back in time and change it to be whatever we want. And it's pretty clear from the way that they did the whole Alan situation that they're using the one where it's like, if it's going to happen, it's already happened. So like Alan was already in the world when they sent him back in time. It's not like they sent him back in time and it made a new reality. Like it already happened. So going from that, we can kind of infer that, they're not going to go too crazy with that. At least that's the hope. Because at this point, it would make sense
that's the opposite side of the coin. The opposite side of the coin of anything can happen, or it's already happened, so you can't change it, so it doesn't matter again.
Well, but you have to remember that, like,
I see what you're saying.
What they've done is they sort of like tightened the circle as they went through all these games. The Remedyverse has gotten, but then in this game, as the circle tightened, a bigger circle formed around it, which is like, here's all the other shit going on. And so the thing is no matter what happens in Alan Wake, they're allowed to get timey-wimey, Jeremy Bearimy, whatever the hell that thing is. They're allowed to get crazy with it, right? They're allowed to get weird because in the Remedyverse, the FBC control is still outside of that. And so they're like, oh, that's an alter-world event. If we can stop it from happening, all that stuff will cease to be. So there's like, there's an organization who's like fighting against that. But in this one story, it's all out of whack, right? But again,
if that were the case, if like you have to accept the fact that, and like this is what I'm saying, in stories like this, you have to accept the fact that certain things have rules, but certain things don't. Is the FBC and everything outside of Cauldron Lake actually happening? because it could be part of this story, or that's what I'm saying.
I mean, and it is. There's a lot of stuff. Again, there's a lot of hints that maybe Alan or Tom or whatever wrote some things and you're absolutely correct, because there's no answers yet, and it's all sort of amorphous to what they're trying to tell. There's so many loose threads, but the smart thing is, because there's so many loose threads, they can tie those off when they need to. And so right now there are no answers, and that's kind of the fun of it. Is we're not going to know anything till much later when they give us more answers. But the smart thing is that when Control came out, it answered a bunch of stuff from all the worlds they've created. This game answered a little bit more, and I'm sure Control 2 will answer a little bit more. But they're never going to be like, and here's how time travel works, or here's how and I think that's smart.
Okay,
because they aren't trying to like, well, we got to go to the quantum realm in order to travel back in time and drop off the stones. Like, they're not trying to do that and explain it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're just like, it's insane. The whole point is it's insane. Like, that's Alan Wake. It's supposed to be a mystery, and it's supposed to be like a spiral down into madness, and you're supposed to be like, what the shit is happening here? I think like that's the point of what they're doing.
Well, let me ask you a general question then. How in the game do you accept or how do you know what to take as real?
I think
When
you
does
don't,
when does
but
that
I think that's
happen?
half the fun. Like, you don't even know by the end of the game if what's happened has actually happened. So, I mean, it's I think that's one of the things that like that's one of the main story themes they're flirting with, is what is real, what happened, what changed, what never could have changed. Like, that's the whole point that they had her at the very end of the game make that phone call and not have there be a resolution. It's because even then they're still going, what changed? What happened? Did they actually win? Like, that's the theme. It's one of the themes of the entire thing.
Yeah, it's the concept behind what, I mean, even the first Alan Wake, right? Alan Wake, in order to save his wife, sacrifices himself to the dark place, and that's what the dark place wanted the entire time, right? So like, there is no satisfying ending to the first game. So this game is not going to have a satisfying ending in a way that's like, we have a definitive, this is what happened, because it is purposefully trying to mess with you, the viewer, just like any sort of, like Twin Peaks or a Deadly Premonition or any of those games where it's like, let's get weird with it. And I think it's it's almost like a cosmic-y, eldritchy horror kind of vibe, where a simple person, like, it is above our pay grade as humans to truly understand what is happening. And in this case, the best we can do is Alan realizes he's not looping through everything. It's a spiral. And the question is, how do we get back up out of there? Because he continues, when he gets shot in the head, which is like a whole thing they show multiple times in the game, his way out is to end it, right? With a bullet of light. But like, even that sends him on the loop. The question is, where on the loop is he now? Is he going back up? Is he going back down? What is happening to him? And now that Saga was in the dark place, is Saga out? What is the dark place's plan for all? Like, there's so many questions, and I think the fun is, unless they give us more games, we truly won't know exactly what is happening. Because this is like the end of phase 1 or the middle of phase 2 of a Marvel of like MCU, where it's like, we're building to something. Something is going to happen. We're just not there yet. And so I if anything, I would say the biggest problem I have with this game as like a game is, if you aren't into the Remedyverse, there's a lot of things in here. I don't know how you react to stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
how
a
you
good
would
point.
see a lot of the things happening in this game, because I imagine you'd be like, what the hell does that mean? What is that? And so, yeah, I'm very curious what they're going to do with the story. For me, that's what's fun, because I like being like, all right, where do we go?
Yeah.
I think one bit of good news is it's
thing
very clear
with-
that this game was super well received. So I'm hoping they're just, if nothing else, going to lean into it and not feel the need to like over generalize it, which is good. So, the more weird stuff, the more connections that they make you draw instead of handing to you on a platter, I think the more interesting the whole thing is as a whole.
Yeah. Zeke, what were you
I don't want anyone to think like I played the game all the way through, which is, saying something, because, if I don't like a game, I'll stop playing it. I don't care if I'm, right at the end. I don't give a shit. I will stop playing it if I don't like it. I loved it. I absolutely I had a great time playing it. I just had like these weird, like annoying moments. Like we were talking about, like all the reveals. Some were obvious, more obvious than others, and so on and so forth. But there were so many twists that it's every twist dulls the twist of the next. So it's like, oh, nice twist. That was pretty good twist. Another twist. Oh God, a twist. Oh fuck, another twist. Like it started to become like commonplace for them to like, hey, like I made the analogy of like, if at the end of Scooby-Doo, they just kept ripping like, oh, Mr. Withers, oh, Alan Wake, oh, Sog, and you're just like, stop with that. I'm good now.
Sure. No,
I just got the funniest image of Zeke at like an EDM concert, and he's like, "Oh, another drop." God, this is like the 5th one.
What a drop.
I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Not the same, but fair enough.
No, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying completely.
Yeah.
I think the concern that I have, I'm not there with you on like the twists and stuff, but there is a concern I have in that I love things like this game where it's mysteries upon mysteries, and every time you think you know something, you don't know something, which is why I was a huge fan of the show Lost when that was on.
I was about to bring up Lost. Yeah, the whole conversation feels very Losty.
The ending of Lost sucked. It was not good, and that is a danger for something like this for the Remedyverse.
They got to pull it off.
They cannot deliver on an end. Like it's very possible that they cannot deliver on an ending. They might set up all these mysteries and then just not give us what we need, which
or
is
worse, not even give an ending. What if the entire end of everything is just another one of those phone call situations?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be just as painful. And part of the fun of watching Lost is I remember vividly when I was like, I would listen to a podcast where it was people on the island they were filming in Hawaii, and they were like, we saw people filming this, and like maybe could relate to this. Like the theory crafting was what was fun, and it was the journey of going through it that like really got me, which is why I love stuff like this, where I'm like in it and I'm thinking about the crazy things and wondering what's going on. But absolutely, there could be a moment where none of this has a payoff, and that would be super disappointing. Yeah, and I would be furious. Like all the things you're saying about like time travel and the mystery, I would suddenly be like, Zeke was right. Zeke was totally right. Like they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. Like that could very well happen. It could absolutely happen. I have no clue. But my hope is that like it builds to something fun and we get our like Avengers style Remedyverse game where it's just like all of it's coming together, baby. Let's get crazy. That would make me
smart
so
thing
happy.
to do though. Smart thing to do is never.
Well, you can only do that once, right?
Will they, won't they, forever.
Yeah. And
Right.
that's also a fear, like, how long does this last, right? Do they keep stretching this out or yeah. When is the quote like big reveal of all of this? Is there that ever occurs?
I mean,
Do
I
they
guess
keep
there is though, right? Like
Yeah. It depends
In
what they want to do.
Yeah, like in Control, the idea of what's happening out in the wake is it's like just another day at the job.
Yeah.
Like it isn't like the events of Alan Wake aren't. They're just another world-ending calamity that the FBC deals with.
But
That's
isn't
all
there
another AWE to put in their vault?
Isn't there the
Yeah,
idea
it's
though
just-
that like Alan Wake is the reason that all of the AWEs are happening in the first place, and that like
Nope.
he was potentially going to lead the Bureau of Control at one point because he wasn't that in Control?
Are you talking about the DLC?
I think so. I forgot where I read that, or where that thought came to me. But I thought that like at one point they were going to see if he wanted to like be the Jesse of Control and like take over the bureau, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't remember that at all. But
Okay,
I'll
maybe I'm
take
making
your word
that up.
for it.
No. If I'm wrong about that,
So Chad is saying
Like-
he is mentioned as a potential director in Control.
yeah.
Alan was P10.
But that
a
is
possible
because
candidate.
the reason why he's mentioned is because much like Jesse Faden, he is a para-utilitarian.
He's a para-utilitarian, yeah.
Yes.
So like literally they just have a list of all they have files on everyone that they have found that can use and manipulate, all the objects of power without being affected by it like in terrible ways. A lot of the time when you mess with an object of power, it like messes you up, which I think probably like lends credence to the idea that Tom Zane found that magical film camera, and that's what caused all of his problems.
Sure.
But like the Dark Place is just another. It's sort of like if anyone out there is into the SCP stuff, there's like
It's all SCP
thousands
shit,
of
yeah.
SCPs, and there's the SCP organization, and all they do is just manage it, and it's the exact same vibe. The control verse, the Bureau of Control, the FBC, they literally just are keeping Earth from being swallowed up or messed up by some other terrible thing. They're very much kind of like a TVA situation if you're into Marvel. They're just the people protecting us from trouble. So Alan Wake as a story is fun and it's its own thing and it has little tidbits for the rest of the universe, but it's like one problem, right? In Control, they make it very clear there's so many other problems, and that's why Estevez is like, yeah, we got like a normal agent to deal with that. Like Jesse Faden isn't popping up in Bright Falls to help with dealing with the Dark Place.
She
It's
can
not
still
that
be
just
big
a
of a
lot worse.
She's the director, and they've lost control of the old house. So
Yeah.
there's clearly something else that needs her attention.
Yeah, which potentially is Control too. Yep. Cool. That seems like a good place to end the discussion, I suppose. Not to cut it too abruptly.
Jesse, we're gonna
but-
have you on after Control 2 again if you're up for it.
Yeah, or
Can't wait
even
to
the
see you guys
DLC.
Maybe the DLCs.
Yeah, the
For
DL
years.
depends on the DLCs, I guess. Yeah,
My hope is that the DLC about the lake house, which is like where the control facilities are, will at least explain why it's dark, what's going. Like, hopefully, we'll get more answers. Very similar to the way the Alan Wake DLC for Control gave us answers about what was happening in the Alan Wake storyline.
yeah.
That's my hope.
I'm still of the
We'll
mind
see.
that Saga is just a story. And
That she's
real.
not real.
I mean, that's her name, right? Like,
I mean,
she
yeah,
could
it's
be
her
completely
namesake.
made. Like, again,
Because we never
All
see
of it
her
could be made
outside
up.
of this. Like, right?
Well-
we never see her outside of the Bright Falls or whatever. That microcosm, that little area.
Apart from the driving
Right,
in,
we only-
We don't, but we do know that there's real people outside of Bright Falls that are affected and unaffected, most importantly, by the story. So we can assume if they're real, then she has to quasi at some point be real as well. You would have to
So-
posit, right?
So the thing is that the big conceit of what the typewriter is and what, like, you can't create something from nothing. Like,
Yeah.
everyone you can manipulate it, you can change it, but like Saga could be a person. Maybe her name was like Jane Smith, but the minute she drives into town, suddenly she's Saga Anderson. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that. And again,
Well, okay.
she's brought to the case by Alex Casey, and Alex Casey is potentially not real. Like, there's, again, so many ways you could read the
influenced, yeah.
story. Like,
But then
there's so many
Dor
ways
is
you
her
could read it, but-
father, and Dor is also leading Wake, and Dor is also influencing Scratch.
Honestly, I think we're gonna find out that Mr. Door's like something bigger than an old god of Asgard, something bigger than Ati. Like, he is clearly has a purpose, and what that purpose is, I'm sure will be a future thing of some sort. But yeah, he's like, he tells Alan, like, Alan, you're doing this to yourself, right? He's protecting Saga. He has meetings with the old gods of Asgard. Like, he is his own thing. And I see people in chat being like, he's Heimdall. I think he's bigger than that.
Well, here's
I think
also
whatever
something
he
really
is, he's
interesting to think
bigger.
about. Here's something else interesting to think about. Thor and Odin have the power. The power was passed down to Freya, which was then passed
Right.
to Saga.
Yeah.
What are the chances through serendipity that Freya, who has this power, would just happen to meet this guy named Dor, who is also fully invested and a part of this story, but in a completely unrelated way? Like, there has to be some Deus Ex Machina there between Freya and Dor, their meeting, why he got chased away. Like, Mr. Dor doesn't seem like a totally unhinged dude. What happened between him and Freya? Why did that happen? Did he get put in an Alan Wake style situation?
Odin and Thor banished him. Or not banished
Yeah,
him.
but they never
struck him with
explained
lightning.
why. They never explained
Right.
like what the whole like they just said that he was a troubled guy and they don't, you know, and they butted heads and stuff like that. But they never talk about like why that happened and why that whole thing transpired.
Right. Who knows? I mean,
Right.
and that's the fun. for me at least. I can see why it's frustrating for other people. Like, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the game in a nutshell.
I've got one important question. Who wins in a fight, Ati or Mr. Door?
It
Here's the
depends.
thing.
Is it a sing-off?
Well, we don't even know if they're like that type of powerful, do we?
We don't know
I
at
think
all.
they're probably the two most powerful people in the entire story.
But like, what is
thing-
power?
Do you think
And
Door is a power or a tool?
Well, I know that Tim is a tool of Mr. Door. Here's what I would say. I would say that Mr. Door would show up to like duel in a music dance-off battle Ati, but Ati would give him
Liking
some sort of
this.
Ted Lasso-like speech and diffuse the entire situation.
Hit you with some
And
idioms.
they both
of-
go out and get a drink.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's valid.
I think that's a good way. It's a cop-out answer, but that's the Alan Wake answer.
I think it's a lovely answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I feel like neither of them fight.
Yeah,
They
that's what I was
it's
gonna
kind
say.
of
They,
like,
they have power, but they don't necessarily fight.
Yeah, it's very like Q-like in Star Trek that they're just sort of above it, but they're interfering for some reason that we don't yet
They're
understand.
invested for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Do
invested
you
in
think
ways that are like
do you think they could be they could be, or have they been affected by the objects of power?
in this, Ati for sure is. When he's in the
Okay.
nursing home, he's like going through it. He has like a whole
He's also
line of
warping
dialogue.
around,
Yeah.
which is a little weird.
Like he's having like he's very clearly the story is writing over him because Rose is like, oh Ati, he just got in the janitor's closet. But then Ati in his bedroom is like, I don't know what's going on with me, man. So yeah, like it's very clear something's happening to him.
Sorry, I was reading chat. More theories in chat, which I don't know if we need to get into.
But like that's for me, that's the fun of
That's the
games
fun,
like this
yeah.
is the
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
theories and coming up with stuff. But yeah, if you like are a person who needs definitive answers in your life,
Don't play
good
this
luck.
game.
This game will torture
Don't
you.
play this game.
It will torture you.
Yeah.
I don't like okay. I don't want to get it twisted. Like, I don't mind mystery. I love a mystery that lasts. Like, I love the end of Inception. Loved it.
Sure.
I thought that was great. But for the things to have weight or consequence or to have effect, the thing that was missing was like solid reality rules, and this just doesn't have them. So it's just like when anything can happen, nothing matters kind of thing for me.
But
Like
did
I'm
you-
harping on this. I'm harping on the same thing, but it's like,
No, but like
Did you
Could it
enjoy
be?
Control giving
Sure
you
it could.
answers though? Because if so, then
yes, I did.
then yeah, Control 2 is what.
it'll probably
You
give you
should
more
play it.
answers, right? Because it's more
Right,
grounded.
like,
Even
that's
though
the
it's
hope.
crazy.
But we had that
Yeah.
discussion we had that discussion as well. Like, I liked Alan Wake 1 a lot more than I like this one. But Control,
Really?
like for me, outshines all of them.
Mm. Yeah.
Interesting. I personally found Alan Wake 1 okay, and this one I felt was like a masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm the same. Alan Wake 1 to me, I was like, it's a lot of like, I don't know. Alan Wake 1 is the exact same vibe for me as Deadly Premonition. It's fun. It's not great. It's fun. I like what's going on, but it's like, it's flawed, But it's very
And then,
clear that
like, you're just pointing out my taste. I'm like, yeah, Deadly Premonition.
here's the thing. Deadly Premonition 2 is hot garbage, and I
Yeah.
still enjoyed it. Like, it is, I was like, this game's so goofy. I don't know. I think, if anything, Remedy has figured out what they are as a studio and as a company, and like how they want to tell stories. And each one, for me at least, is clearly a more creative outing each time. And they're like, let's take more risks. Let's get more wild. And I just like seeing that happen. Because again, I'm constantly disappointed when like a big game comes out. I'm like, it was all right. It was okay. But they like is by the numbers, and they like know what they're like. It's seeing stuff where I'm like, I can't believe I'm watching this. I can't believe a company made this. Always makes me feel good. So that's why I love these types of games.
Yeah. There's definitely no one else doing it like Remedy. They're in their own
Yeah.
thing, their own AWE, making games
pretty
like their
great.
own their own way. And I the other thing too, which we've mentioned multiple times, I hope other games look this good moving forward. even if it does take a fucking powerhouse of a PC to run them. I love the graphics push of all of it. And they did that with Control as well. I felt the same way with Control because that was like that was the first time where RTX like made sense in a lot of ways.
You spend 10 minutes like, look at that puddle.
Yeah.
I can see myself in that puddle.
Yeah. It's that was Control for me as well. And this one is just like, look at the fucking lighting. Look at this stupid lighting in this stupid diner that makes no fucking sense. And you just walk over to it and put your leg in front of it and watch it diffuse around your fucking leg. Like, just stupid shit like that. Yeah. So, anyways, that's the end of the conversation. We're done. Spoiler talk.
Thanks,
going
guys.
away. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We're not done, but thanks for coming on, Jesse. I think that conversation could only have happened with you. So we'll have you on in the future. I would love, I mentioned this on Twitter. I don't think it would be a good interview because Sam's not going to say anything of value to the story, but I would love to talk to Sam Lake on a show. Like, he's not just going to come on the show and be like, well, you see, but he'd be fun just to chat with, I think.
I would love to ask him about the dance number. Like, I want to know
how it like came to be.
Not just how it came to be, but like filming it. Like, I imagine it was kind of the level of like Ocean's 11, where it's just a bunch of dudes who are all friends making a movie for like shits and giggles. Like, I have to imagine it was fun to be there that day.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be baffled if it wasn't, to be honest. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah. He's also, it's like such a unique thing to, I think, write these type of games. I would love, like Cohh was saying, do they know the ending and they wrote back from there? Or are they just making it up as they go along and like tying everything together? Or do they just have a board with like, it has to reference this, that, and this?
I think Jesse said something interesting, and I do wonder that. I wonder if they purposefully do things sometimes to ask a question they don't themselves know the answer to.
Sure.
Like maybe putting that Alan Wake thing about being the director. Maybe they didn't know where that was going to go. You know, maybe they didn't.
Right.
Maybe they had a rough idea about the books in Quantum Break, but didn't really have a firm idea. You know, just like putting out their own breadcrumbs that they can themselves follow in some cases.
Yeah.
JP, I think this is very specific to you and me, but like it's very similar to the way the Final Fantasy 14 dev team does things, where they leave loose threads, and then later, 2 expansions later, like, oh my God, I can't believe they planned this all out. And it's like, no, they didn't plan it. They just had a thread and they wrote down a note like, we need to answer that at some point.
Oh, we're doing spoilers.
And when it happens,
I'm sorry,
like,
a little bit.
Oh, did I remove that was slight spoilers,
I mean, but
I agree, Jesse. I agree. Anyways, spoilers are over. No more spoilers. Sorry about that, Chad. That was on me more so than Cohh, 'cause I removed the spoiler tag.
my bad too.
Let's do some news. Well, the biggest news this past week, I guess arguably, Rockstar announced they're doing GTA 6 after Jason Schreier leaked that they were doing GTA 6.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah, Jason caught a lot of shit for that. I saw it like, that was the night prior, if I recall, when all that went down, was him saying like, Alan Wake 6, Jesus Christ. GTA 6 is a thing. It's going to be announced as soon as this week, and you're going to get a trailer sometime in December. Then the next morning, about 12 hours later, Rockstar Games tweeted that very same thing. We're very excited to let you know that in early December, we'll release the first trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto. We look forward to many more years of sharing these experiences with you. And that was from Sam Hauser.
And wasn't that reply, like, wasn't it like the third reply down or something?
Yeah, it was the third
like
tweet of a series of tweet. Yeah. It's like the most Rockstar way of doing
And
things.
it had like 800,000 likes on a freaking third reply.
Yeah, let's hear it's at 1.5 million likes now, 502,000 retweets. 169 million views.
Something leads me to believe that game's going to do okay when it comes.
I think they're going to be okay. Yeah, the Rockstar is pretty
they're gonna be
successful. It's pretty wild.
what do you think the timeline for that game is? When do you think we'll see it?
Next year. I think next year. I think it's out next year.
They've been working on it for a while.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
I think the bigger question is like, what is that game? Like, what is it? Just another well-produced AAA story like GTA 4, GTA 5 was, or like, are they doing something absolutely crazy? I mean, the game's supposed to have cost like $1 to $2 billion with a B.
Supposedly, the rumor I heard is that they are much more leaning into the social aspect with this one.
Yeah.
So kind of taking a page from the GTA RP stuff. Not necessarily in that regard, not like having GTA RP in the game, but a lot more like other players. It's more of a social experience in the city.
So it's like an always
is that
online
right?
thing?
I have no idea.
You think
I
it would
have
be an
no
always
idea
online
what that
thing?
means.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that would look like.
I mean,
but
if you look at like,
yeah.
if you look at GTA 5 today, very little people talk about GTA 5 single player story. It's like not a, it was good when it came out, but GTA 5 now is like, yeah, the GTA Online just cranks money out. And then I think in our sphere, it's like, oh yeah, GTA RP is, you know, kept GTA huge on like the content creators aspect. I don't know what I really truly don't know what GTA 6 looks like as like an initial launch. Like what is it, just another story? I don't know. I don't know what they launch with. And does that undersell, or not undersell, does that disappoint the fandom of Grand Theft Auto if it is just that at launch and then GTA 6 online follows, which is kind of what they've done in the past, right? Or do they even do an online component? Is it just a single player thing and then they bring over kind of everything that the online aspect is? I do not know. I don't know what that game truly looks like, apart from just more GTA ultimately. Because we kind of saw what they did with Red Dead, and that was very much like what they did with GTA 5, but just in the Red Dead framework from like a story and thematic element.
Is Rockstar known for taking crazy chances? Because really, they just hone in on what
really.
works,
Yeah.
and they like create bigger versions of what works. They'll figure out what their audience loves, and they'll be like, okay, we're gonna make a bigger version of that, and we're gonna give you more story and more crazy things to do. But they aren't like, we're gonna get real crazy. They play it safe often, so I don't know if they're gonna come out and be like, next game, it's like an MMO. I honestly think people that love Grand Theft Auto would be like, nah, I'm not playing that. I honestly don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a space adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
it's
the
on
thing.
the moon.
That's the thing is GTAs are not those. GTAs are fairly grounded stories. They're grounded stories in the fact that, like, yeah, you run around LA and murder everyone, right? But it's still like, it's still Earth, right? It's not space. It's not an Alan Wake thing where is this real reality? It's like, nope, this is LA. And those guys took your drugs or your car or whatever. So I don't know what, unless it's just a well-told one of those. I think weren't some of the leaks like it's you play a husband and wife, I think is the main characters. I remember reading something like that. So like that could be a thing, but still,
Bonnie and Clyde style.
Yeah, I don't know.
That could be fun.
Yeah. I don't know what the unless they go for like it'll probably have the thing kind of like what they did somewhat in GTA 5 where you can swap between the two, kind of like what they did in Spider-Man, where you can swap between the two and it's pretty much instant. I think that would be cool. I don't think they make it like a co-op experience. I think it's probably going to be a single player story. And then they just go crazy with the online stuff. And maybe that's where like the social elements, the MMO elements come into play. But I don't know.
I mean, they're definitely gonna do something where you have to buy extra stuff.
Right.
There's gonna be,
there's gonna be,
oh, yes.
yeah. There's gonna be that somewhere.
They'll fit that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. I guess we'll see the first trailer next month. Here's the other question. And this actually had a bigger discussion on the internet than I was expecting. Does Keighley get that at the Game Awards, or is Rockstar going to do their own thing because they're Rockstar?
I say no. I
say
said
no?
Rockstar does their own thing.
Rockstar does their own thing.
I don't
They've
know,
always
man.
done their own thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think there's a history of Rockstar dropping trailers at the Game Awards.
But it's
trying to-
also a different time now. Like Game Awards is fucking huge, but Rockstar.
Yeah,
and
where
Grand
was the
Theft
Game
Auto-
Awards 10 years ago?
Yeah. But GTA is also
That is
GTA. Like the I think the Jason Schreier tweet was like the biggest game of all time. I don't necessarily disagree with that statement. Like GTA kind of transcends the idea of video games into like popular culture with how many things have happened around its as an IP. So I don't know. I don't know where I would. I think if I'm Jeff, I'm trying to get it at my show.
Oh, hell, of
But,
course.
yeah, but I don't know if Rockstar is open for that. if they even need to advertise outside of their own thing.
I think that tweet kind of shows that they need to advertise.
Yeah, I mean that's a crazy amount of exposure for sure.
Yeah.
So if I was Rockstar, again, I'm no PR genius, but if I was Rockstar, I would give Keighley, because the Game Awards is the 7th. So I'd give Keighley a because Game Awards is the 7th, Rockstar's 25th is the 10th. So I'd be like, here's a teaser for a thing that's a teaser for our trailer. You can have like a 30-second in 3 days.
Yeah.
It comes out. So Jeff gets a thing and they get some hype and then people are ready for it to drop on the 10th. Like that's what I would do as sort of like we get a double dip.
Yeah. That could happen. Especially if that's like that would have to be the final thing, right? The final trailer they drop or the final trailer. He usually ends on Game of the Year and they don't do any trailers after that. But that's like the lead up trailer to that moment, right? Like I don't know of a bigger thing that could be dropped at the Game Awards than the trailer for GTA 6.
Unless they drop like Elden Ring DLC.
Is Elden Ring DLC bigger than GTA 6? I don't know.
Is Elden Ring bigger than GTA 6?
No,
yeah. So, I mean.
No, but like, one could be much more hyped than the other. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on what is shown.
Yeah.
Like, it really comes down to what it could be. I mean, yeah, but if you're saying in general, is anything bigger than GTA? No. Which is what Jason was saying, which I think everyone agrees. It's the biggest game in the world, which is why it's $1 billion game they're making.
Yeah, that's also just insane. Because, like, Star Citizen, the meme of all memes is not even at $1 billion. Right? So, what do we even, like, what does $1 billion game do? I don't know. That's the big question. But I suppose we'll
I'm trying
see.
to think of any game would be bigger than that. Like any announcement of any game.
Yeah.
I don't even think like a new Elder Scrolls. No. I think GTA does better than that. I think like Half-Life 3, like that meme, like nope.
No.
Yeah, I think it's
Autoscape 4.
Yeah. Even that people would like not be nearly as hype as finally seeing
unfortunately. I love how someone in chat said Mass Effect 4 and it's like, oh, is it 10 years ago?
that kind of happened this past week. I mean, they showed that little trailer. It's part of the
then,
news,
man.
yeah.
Even that, I was like, all right, cool. I was like, all right.
Dude, that was I was watching like diehard fanatical Mass Effect fans, and they were just like, what the fuck is this shit? Like it was the Joe Pesci meme of just like, why the fuck are you gonna show this? This does nothing. And then the report came out that game's not coming out till 2029.
The problem with BioWare is they love their like, here's a little tease. And they keep doing it. And it's after a while, you're just like, either release the game or not. Like, I just don't care. Like, stop giving us like pre-rendered, like, I'm cool and I'm walking down a hallway. Like, awesome, y'all. Cool.
Yeah.
It's so
another
frustrating.
unfortunate larger problem is that BioWare is not BioWare anymore.
Yeah.
So that has significantly deadened the hype, unfortunately.
Well, and also like that's 6 years. If it really truly is not coming out till 2029, because they're gonna do Dragon Age, Dreadwolf or whatever that ends up being named first.
That poor project, man.
How the fuck is BioWare going to exist another 6 fucking years? Like, how do they not get shut down? There's no way. There's no
I just
way
want to
that
point
You're
out
not wrong.
that Jesse's view on teases is very similar to my view on twists in video games. It's like,
Oh my
they
god.
keep doing it and I stop caring.
Sure. Yeah.
Zeke's never gonna let this go.
He's never going to let it go. Yeah.
This is our life now.
It's our thing. Yeah, so we will see with GTA 6 here in about a month. See what happens. That's right, Zeke. That's right. It's a spiral. It's not a loop. What else should we? I mean, we can. I mentioned the Golden Joysticks and then kind of degraded them by saying the actual Game Awards. Here's why I say that. I think if you look at like if you look at where like Hollywood does like the Oscars, right? The Oscars are generally the go. They're the top of the top when it comes to awards, right? The Game Awards holds that spot, I think, within the gaming sphere for most people, especially people outside of the gaming sphere. They're the Oscars of gaming. However, the issue with the Golden Joysticks is we got to be like we got to start standardizing these awards. Did y'all look at the nominations and like what games were in some points, but other games were not in some points because of when they released? So they were up for like critic votes, but they weren't up for fan vote stuff because of when they were released. Like Alan Wake 2 was not in a lot of categories. Spider-Man 2 was not in the best PlayStation game, even though that was the best PlayStation game. It was a very, I can pull up all the different nominations, but it was a very weird thing.
When you brought it up earlier, I actually wrote this down. I actually wrote down the Golden Joystick equals Golden Globes. It's like, there's another award show that a lot of people watch, but it's not the main one.
I guess if I had to like think of a I guess I'm okay with that. Yeah, like what else? What is on like what's if the next reign below the Game Awards is an award show within the gaming sphere, I guess it's the Golden Joysticks. There's also the BAFTAs.
BAFTA's pretty big, but it's very
BAFTAs
British specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emmys and Tonys.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough because the Game Awards, for it being an award show, is so completely not about the awards.
Totally. Yeah.
People tune in to see trailers,
Yeah.
see new things. They're not watching to
It's
see
a
like
show.
which is why it stands above all the others, because people are tuning in for what it provides. Not, like most of the people watching the award show aren't there because they want to see who won a thing. They're there because like, what's next? What's the next thing going to reveal? And
well, they know that because half the awards are awarded off the fucking camera. They're like, and here's the rattle off list of 5 awards that we gave out.
And they do that at the Oscars as well. But yeah, I agree with you that they need to.
But at the Oscars, they aren't dropping trailers for like the next hot movie. You know what I mean? Like the Game Awards is a different beast, but I think it's smart because it taps into what people actually care about. It's hard to get people to be like, I'm so excited that John Smith won Best Digital Edit. Like it's like real hard for people just like your average Joe to care about what goes on in the game dev world.
You say that, but the fallout after the Game Awards this year on the internet is going to be like
that's because it was a big year, and there's a lot of people have opinions on all the games that came out. Like a lot. It's
like we'll do it on this fucking show. We'll do it in the moment. Mm-hmm. We'll co-stream that and be like, that didn't fucking deserve that award. What the fuck are they thinking? Time feel.
Sure.
So I think like I agree with you, but I guess I slightly disagree with you in terms of people don't care about the awards. People didn't care about the awards, and now they do because of where the Game Awards is at, I would say. Like Jeff has actually been successful in creating reverence, if I think that's the right word, around the actual Game Awards.
Do you think SGF helped that, or like do you think it's kind of a sister thing to that though, in terms of like the pomp and the circumstance? So
SGF is to the Game Awards?
Yeah. Like they're kind of synergistic. So I mean, do you really think it's the awards themselves, or do you think it's just more the show around it? Do you think it could happen without the awards and still just be a big show, like an E3 style?
I don't know if it's there
100.
yet. I don't think it's there yet, but I do think
Really?
people care about the awards more so than they did when it started on Spike 10 years ago. And those things were
I kind of
fucking
see
dog
I
shit.
kind of see the goal. I see it kind of like the MTV awards back in the day, if you remember those, where like
Yeah, they still
the
do
Game
them.
Awards is like the big. Oh, do they? Oh
Yeah.
wow, the big public facing. This is for you guys kind of thing. Here's a bunch of new music videos, or in this case, game things. Where the Golden Joysticks are a little bit more like, granted they are still popular, but it's a little more industry, I'd say, like a little bit more like. But then that comes back to your point about how the categories are weird, but. I don't know.
Yeah,
They just
here,
seem
I'll-
different in
I'll figure
scale.
that
I think is what it is at the end of the day. It's just a lot of scale differentials.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the golden. This is what
Differences.
I'll say about the Golden Joysticks. They're a fine award. In fact, I love them specifically because I have one. Here's the thing, though. The one I have
you do?
is I do. The one I have is
Awesome.
for upcoming YouTuber 2016. At that point, I had been doing YouTube for 6 years.
No.
So like, just it says everything you need to know about like what they choose and how they choose things.
Yeah.
Like,
That's very
I
much says
clearly
what's
didn't
going
deserve
on
to
in
be in the
26
category.
2016, though. I feel.
yeah, I didn't
Congratulations.
deserve to be in
Yeah.
that category, but yet I was and won. And I'm not going to say no to the award, but like, I didn't deserve to be there. Why was I there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, when you look at Mortal Kombat being in best multiplayer.
Yeah, Mortal
Like-
Kombat 1 best multiplayer against
Even the netcode
Street
is
Fighter,
trash, and you're telling me
Diablo,
that
Remnant 2, a game called
Yeah.
We Were Here Expeditions, The Friendship. Exoprimal was also another nominated game.
The fact that Street Fighter 6
mean-
lost to Mortal Kombat is it's my soul. It's crushing me.
Yeah. No,
They
that
asked,
was a weird one.
Did I unaware? Was I the one who picked it? Because I would have been like, I don't know any of these games. I'd give it to Mortal Kombat.
I don't know if you've seen the end of the Mortal Kombat 1 story. I know it's not multiplayer, but that was an incredible experience.
It's pretty fucking
gonna
sick.
say that.
Story of Mortal Kombat 1 is super fun.
The story's fucking sick, yeah.
Yeah, the story of
Oh,
Mortal Kombat
man.
1's great, but like best multiplayer, you're out of your mind.
That's
I
a
don't know
little
about that.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah. We can kind of go through these real quick. Studio of the Year, Larian won. Best visual. Here's one that I don't necessarily agree with. Best visual design was Baldur's Gate 3.
See,
Yeah,
the thing is,
I
though,
would-
it's kind of like a lot of our categories. That can mean a lot of things.
It can,
Best
totally.
visual design doesn't necessarily have to mean like the best graphics.
But even if we're going
But-
by art style or like art theme, I don't think Baldur's Gate 3 didn't look bad. I wasn't upset with anything it did. But like Hi-Fi Rush oozes fucking style out its asshole.
Sure. Even Street Fighter
It's
6,
kinda
even though
leaked
it's not
that
like
image.
even though Street Fighter 6 isn't like a beautiful game, the way the design of it, the street art, the like spray paint, like it's just visually they did a lot of fun things. And yeah, Baldur's Gate's great, and I have no problem that it won, but it just seems like a weird category. Best visual design as like what does that mean? It's so vague.
Yeah.
It can mean anything.
And we just spent 90 minutes talking about Alan Wake 2, which I think would
Not on there.
it's not even on there.
Alan Wake 2 is one of the prettiest games I've ever seen.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is more
Bar none.
deserving than most of these, I would say. Game expansion, the Phantom Liberty won that. Against,
I agree with that though. I think that's spot on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Phantom Liberty is totally deserved, 100%.
Indie game was.
Oh yeah, if I was in the game, but like you guys, like fuck. I would've played that.
Yeah, look at these shills over here. Look at these shills.
I know where my bread.
We were in the expansion. Come on.
These fucking chills. Best indie game. A long, big conversation around Dave the Diver, I think, being within this
Yeah.
list.
That's a toughie, man. That's a toughie.
Yeah.
Sea Stars is an incredible game. It's an amazing RPG, but like Dave the Diver captured the hearts of the world. Like, I mean, like you
Oh,
can't.
100%. But
Here's the thing. Dave the Diver is absolutely amazing. The issue is that Nexon is a giant AAA company that loves
Yeah,
their
it's not-
money,
it's not
and
indie.
they created the studio that made
Very
Dave the Diver in
smart.
2019 called Mint
Yeah.
Rocket, specifically for stuff like this. So a
Yeah.
lot of people are
Interesting.
I'm in Dave the Diver, and I'm looking at this and being like, I don't know, man. Like it's not really. It doesn't really make sense.
not really
and if we
indie.
start normalizing that kind of behavior, like that
Good
could be a
point.
slippery slope, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a little strange.
talked about best multiplayer, best audio. Final Fantasy 16 won. I didn't.
Again,
yeah.
Alan Wake's not in there, but I'll give it to 16. But like, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, me
Alan
and
Wake.
Jesse are Soken fanboys. I think all of us actually are probably Soken fanboys.
Oh, love them.
Yeah,
Absolutely. 100%.
yeah. So it is what it is. Best game trailer is a really weird award. Especially that Alan Wake 2 is in this. Like Alan Wake 2, the Dark Place gameplay trailer.
That whole thing.
The Legend of
weird.
Zelda Tears of the Kingdom official trailer number 3.
Baby steps reveal though.
Baby Steps reveal probably should have won that. However, the official cinematic trailer for Phantom Liberty was also very good looking with Elba in it. It's all, the whole thing's weird. Yeah, Dave the Diver official release month and accolades trailer. I don't think we should have an award for best trailers. And I do a show called Trailer Time. I don't think we should have a fucking award show for best game trailer.
Looking at this list is like, all right, we got 5, but we need a 6th.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? Like, just what was the last one you watched? You said it was kind of funny. Put that one on the list.
Yeah.
Baby something.
Strange. Best game community. Baldur's Gate 3 ended up taking that. Sure.
Bear sex brings a lot of people together, man.
Bear sex and vampires.
Yeah. You're welcome, world.
People like bear sex and vampires.
It's weird.
Are you ever
going
to tell us what you meant by that tweet? What was that? Do you remember that, Jesse? Like after that happened, either you tweeted or said something where you were like,
"Oh, I was go watch the video. The guy shouting the loudest to have them have bear sex is very clearly me." And then the rest of the video, I'm maniacally laughing because they got like booted off of TikTok for showing it. Like I was so pleased with myself. I was so happy.
Look, Jesse, look, I'll say it for you. You're responsible for BG3's success and deserve some of these awards that they won, right?
Honestly, I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying I'm a PR
honestly,
specialist.
We can contact Sven for you if you want to get
I was
going to
say,
awards.
he's having trouble carrying all those awards. For the love of his lower back, he probably should, offload
We'll message him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's a friend of the show.
Plenty of dinners with that man. He is a solid dude. Yeah. I will say, though, that, again, community is a weird thing. Like, fandom is what I'd say Baldur's Gate 3 is. It has a huge, amazing fandom. Community is a strange word. Again, like, I don't associate fandoms with communities. Communities are like Final Fantasy IV, like an MMO community, like a WoW thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird.
Again, it all depends on what you define as it. Because, like, if you go to the Baldur's Gate 3 Reddit, it's a hugely active, hugely positive, awesome Reddit. Tons of fan art, tons of fan music. Like, there is a giant community behind Baldur's Gate 3. So it's not necessarily that they're all playing together, but there is certainly a group of people that love and so I don't know.
I guess
man.
it's all terminology. You know what I mean? Like to me, I'm like, oh, that's just a really inspired and passionate fandom. Like something about the word community. I'm just like,
what is the difference between a fandom and a community?
I think 50% of that vote was really vocal and active Asterian fanfic /fic writers.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I think that's very accurate.
Without question.
Yeah. Who was I? I was listening to some like news, like an actual news program in the car while I was driving to the office the other day. And they like people who were like 65 made a joke about like, I was gonna get work done this weekend, but instead I was trying to romance a vampire in the game called Baldur's Gate 3, and I was like, bro, what? Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge game.
Nice.
But I do want to like, I saw that list and then I saw Dreams on there, and I was like, that is awesome that they actually got on there because that is a community who makes shit. Like everybody else plays the shit. That's the only one where the community makes everything. They have a platform to make it on, but that community like makes and shares their stuff. And I love that. I wish it would have won. But I mean,
it's also like, it just, you guys have said it before. It comes down to like, it's a different facet of community. Yeah. It's like, how do you define, exactly like Cohh was saying, how do you define community, fandom, whatever?
Yeah. Like a lot of people in my chat were like, it's a fandom, not a community. And then somebody asked them and they were like, I don't know.
There you go. That's a perfect example.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Best VR game, Horizon Call the Mountain won. I don't think anyone, the 5 people that play VR games were like, yeah, we like Horizon.
And then went
Could
back
have
to
been a
VR
dating
chat.
sim.
Yeah,
Robin.
this one
Yeah.
was weird to me. Best gaming hardware. PSVR 2 won. It was up against the Turtle Beach Stealth Pro headset, the Alienware 34 AW3423
We call this the
DWF,
sponsor category.
the Nitro Deck, the Asus ROG Strix Scope 296, or the Samsung 990 Pro. Now, I
You can't even,
personally,
compare that stuff to each other.
you
They're-
can
they're
if
not
you know
even
what
the
it
same
is.
Category of product.
I would say the Alienware monitor should win. However, the PSVR 2 won. But yeah, this is a weird category. Also, like, with the Steam Deck came out, was that not this year? I guess that was last year.
Mm.
So it's not in there. I don't know.
Okay, hold
and
on.
there's also a hard drive here, the Samsung 990 Pro. That's an SSD.
Settle something for me, guys.
Ridiculous.
Better ball, base or foot? Tough question, I know. That's what that feels like. Oh, a dark horse candidate coming in.
Basket's pretty good.
Bocce, if you will.
I'm not talking about the sport. I'm talking about the actual ball that the sport is played
Right,
with,
right.
which is
Yeah.
better.
Tennis is also pretty good. Tennis has a lot
Ooh,
of
bowling. Yeah, good job, Chad.
bowling.
I
Bowling.
prefer pin.
Oh,
Ooh, that's also pretty
You
good.
can't compare those. They're not the same. Oh, I get it. Ah.
Very weird award there. Breakthrough Award. No nominations. Cocoon just won.
Sure,
I
why
guess
not?
because there's so many like.
Let's just do that.
Oh, yeah. Critics' Choice Award. Alan Wake 2 is what won that. And so this is where it gets down to like the critics' vote happened at a point where Alan Wake 2 is already out, but the fan vote happened where Alan Wake 2 was not out. So fans couldn't vote for Alan Wake 2, which is what I was saying. We need some sort of like.
So weird.
The Oscars usually is like the ones that create the range for the movies that are going to be in award season. We need, I guess, Jeff or someone to like the Academy, as it were, to create the
The
range,
Gaming Academy.
the range for
But
which
isn't-
things are voted upon.
now correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it a year of films happened and then the start of the next year they have award shows?
Yeah, most award shows I think are in February.
Yes.
So it's like we
for
already know what
Oscars.
the year was. There is no. They released a game in November, and like they don't do that, which I think is why the Game Awards is in December because it's at least at that
they
point.
try to do it at the
no
very end.
huge
Yeah.
games are coming out.
Yeah. But like games start coming out, they couldn't do it in January because games start
Well,
coming
no,
out.
you
in
could. It
January.
would be the award show would be for the previous year.
Yeah. But the other thing too, Chad is right. The Game Awards is a marketing event for the most part.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
and
it's
so
not
they're
a
trying to
social
sell
marketing event.
they're trying to sell things for the holiday season, and that's probably a big pitch that Jeff uses to get some of these trailers into the show.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Is that
Well,
like,
fuck, I mean, that's why we do our fucking dumb little show in January.
yeah,
That's why we do it in January, because we do it for the entire year previous, you
Yeah.
know?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Because we're not trying to sell shit.
yeah,
you said.
yeah. Critics' Choice Award was Alan Wake 2. Best streaming game was Valorant. Sure.
Cool.
Best lead performer, Ben
Hold
Starr.
on, real quick, just real quick. What
Good
do
for
they mean
him,
by
man.
streaming game?
I think it was just a
Games
numbers
to
thing.
stream for streamers?
Like had
Or
the biggest tournaments, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like-
I don't know
Okay.
what.
I think that one was more metrics related.
Yeah.
Than,
Which I saw this the stat, and it's not because my wife works on the team that was looking at this information, but I saw the stat on TikTok had 99.5 billion views for the Valorant hashtag when I looked at it the other day.
Whoa,
And
That's
like
incredible.
that's a bit.
that's a lot of fucking views.
That's a bit.
That's like a staggering amount. I didn't even know that something was viewed that much. But there you go. I guess that's it. That's a thing. And I don't even know if that's the most viewed on TikTok. It's probably not by any stretch. It's probably like Taylor Swift or some shit.
You haven't even seen cat videos.
Yeah, or cat. Yeah, Taylor Swift cat videos might be the biggest thing. You never know.
It's the next big thing right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, best lead performer, Ben Starr as Clive Rosfield.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 16.
Not only hugely deserved and awesome. But I am going to give them a quick little shout out.
Give
If
Ben
you
Starr
Google-
out. Okay.
If you Google Natural 6 Kickstarter right now, there is a Kickstarter that closes in the next couple days. It's got like a handful of hours left. And it is a big new Critical Role style live D&D show. Ben Starr, Doug Cockle, voice of the Witcher, Holly Bennett. They've got a great D&D person as well. They've got Alex Jordan, who's Mr. Hands in the Cyberpunk expansion. Tons of top talent. And they've already passed their goal, and now they're working on stretch goals. And if you like that kind of stuff, you should definitely check that Kickstarter out. There's lots of fun stuff. So
nice.
the reason I'm saying this is because it closes in like 2 days. And it's an all-star cast. So
They
pretty cool
are
stuff.
they had a goal of 61,114. I think that was converted from euros or something. Yeah, it was 50,000 euros is what they were at. And they're currently at 69,000. Very nice. Very
Nice.
well done.
Nice.
Yeah. They have a bunch of stretch goals. I think the next one is 70K. So they're
Oh,
close.
can we get a link? Yeah, give me one sec.
Yeah, it was posted in I can send it to you in Discord. If I can
I'll
find it.
just Google it and tune it on there since these
That works.
people apparently don't know how to do that. That's fine. I'll do it for you. That's cool. That's cool.
Let me Google that for you.
Speaking
real
of
quick.
the voice of The Witcher,
There you go.
the new animated show that's coming to Netflix, he is doing the voice for that. So
Yes!
Oh,
Awesome.
there you go.
So
10 out of 10.
awesome.
it's very good.
Yeah.
Geralt's back, baby.
Alan Wake 2 did have Alan Wake, the voice actor for Alan Wake, as well as Saga Anderson in here. They had both Spider-Mans, Yuri and Nadji. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who played Miles. And then did either of you play Deliver Us Mars? I want to say Cohh
I did.
Yeah, they had
Yes.
Elise Chappell, who played Kathy Johansson in that. So
And funny side thing, the guy that directed that and played a lead was Neil Newbaum, who won the Best Supporting Performer.
yeah, that's the
Thing.
next word. Neil Newbaum. For
Neil's
Asteria.
got like a whole, he is like the motion capture king of England.
Voice
I'm convinced of
directing,
this.
too, as well.
He
He has become a powerhouse.
So linked up. Yeah, he's awesome. He's
Yeah.
very cool.
Great guy.
Now, we had a discussion in Best Supporting Performer. Amelia Tyler was in here for the narrator of BG3,
Sure.
as well as
That's
Ralph.
a tough one, man.
Yeah, Ralph Edison, who was Sidolphus, Sid from Final Fantasy
Oh,
16.
that's amazing as well. Like,
It's pretty
honestly,
stacked.
Best supporting is very stacked. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
with-
I'm
I
surprised
love
there was not a
anything
single
Sissy
Baldur's
Jones
Gate 3
does.
person in lead.
yeah, I guess how do you? I mean, if anything, I guess
I would say
Amelia
Amelia.
would be lead.
I think
Yeah,
Amelia should have
that's
been
very-
a
yeah.
lead. Yep.
Yeah.
I think Amelia should have been in Best Lead Performer. I think that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yep.
If the definition is like the game would not exist without this person speaking, then yeah, that's Amelia. She would be.
She
the
had
lead
like
of
what?
that game.
She had an obscene amount of lines in every single
For
one
every
of them is
situation,
so well
they had
delivered.
multiple lines.
It's
yeah.
crazy, man. Yeah, it's crazy
And-
how much of her
And
is
the
in that project.
inflection and the change of playing Dark Urge and the way she like switches up on you is so good.
Yeah.
I can't
Like,
wait to
it-
do that run.
Yeah, she's talented.
Yeah, you owe me one, right? Or not? I mean, I owe you
What? Who owes you one?
100-month game. That's Cohh changed it to
Oh,
Baldur's Gate 3.
Dark Urge co-op.
okay. Gotcha. Nintendo Game of the Year, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the
It's
Kingdom.
weird. That's a weird category. We
Weird
start
one.
getting the weird ones where it's
Yeah.
like very specific game of the year.
PC Game of the Year, BG3 won. PlayStation
Yeah.
Game of the Year, Spider-Man 2 is not even nominated, which is strange. Resident Evil 4 won, which is
Giving it to Resident Evil
multi-platform.
4, I disagree with. I strongly disagree
Yeah?
with that. Just remakes and like maybe best remake you could do, but like giving it to the best game on PlayStation.
all
I
of
don't
these
know.
are- Aren't all of these games except for Humanity multi-platform? So how is it PlayStation Game of the Year?
Look,
16
JP,
will be.
sometimes you need to stop asking questions, okay? Sometimes
That's
you
what
just
I'm
let it
saying.
lie.
We need the Game
I can't put my-
Academy to fucking figure this shit.
FF16 also,
I
yeah.
can't put my finger on it, but I think they're like the category seems to be missing a game.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the Spooderman 2. It's not there.
The Mans of Spooter.
This Xbox Game of the Year, Starfield. I guess.
Sure.
Hi-Fi Rush is maybe. Sure. Also, Dead Space.
Nice that Chance of Sonar got a little bit of a shout out at least.
Yeah.
Little.
I love how Pentiment was on there. They
Pentiment.
just wanted to like throw a game on there.
Yeah.
I gotta put it somewhere. Let's give Josh a shout out because that game's actually pretty great. I like that.
Such a weird, like, these categories are strange.
That's what I was saying.
Like,
It's very weird. Most wanted game. Let's get even weirder. Because some of these, like Silk Song, is that even coming out? I guess Most Wanted doesn't dictate that it is next year, but sure.
Yeah.
Hades
saying
2,
like,
Fabled, Star Wars Outlaws, Death Stranding 2, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Persona 3 Reload, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, Arc 2, Frostpunk 2. Just a weird list. Just an absolutely weird list.
it's like they went to like some website and were like, what games come out in 2024? Like,
I know. Except they just went to Google and did like games out in
just
2024.
copied it. Yeah.
Copy
Yeah.
Crazy.
paste.
Yeah. And then the final award that was given out, Ultimate Game of the Year, which BG3 ended up taking, potentially being a precursor to it winning all the awards come award season. I guess we're in award season now. Which I thought it was going to be I thought there would be more conflict in BG3 winning, but seeing this and seeing the discussion around it, I think it's a shoe-in for like winning the whole shabash at the Game Awards. If that is the big,
I think it's going to be. We're going
ultimate
to see a
one,
lot of it.
I think BG3 is probably going to take that. Yeah.
Like it has the same vibe as when Return of the King won all those awards. Yeah, there were a lot of amazing movies that year, but it was so big that you just have to accept that it's going to win. Like it's going to win a lot of awards just because of how massive a game it is, how massive the fandom is, how massive, like it is in the cultural ethos. It's that big.
Yeah.
So you just have to accept it. It's gonna walk away with a ton of awards this year.
Yeah, these were in order, by the way. So Alan Wake was 5, Jedi Survivor was 4, Spider-Man 2 was 3, Tears of the Kingdom was 2, and Baldur's Gate was 1. The rest of them I don't think are in order. I just know those top 5 were. That's how they gave out
they're in
the
order
award.
of vote gets.
Yeah, that's how they revealed
wow.
that was at number 5. Alan Wake. Yeah, it's kind of strange, but
Lords of the Fallen's on there, but Liza P is not.
yeah, that my chat said the same thing.
That's a little
that's
weird.
fucked up.
Yeah,
that's a
Liza
little
P
weird.
deserves to be on there 10x more than Lords of the Fallen. I'm sorry, Lords of the Fallen, but that's
Hey, I loved Lords of the
truth.
Fallen, but Liza P was something special, man.
yeah.
There's if anyone's curious as to why like Zelda or like I love Alan Wake 2. I think it's a phenomenal game. One of my favorite. It's just continues to be amazing for me. But I have put at least 200 hours into Baldur's Gate 3 across multiple campaigns. I've still not beaten that game. I'm just enjoying playing. It is
Yeah.
It's so next level that it's just gonna win. You just have to accept it. It's just gonna win.
Someone in my chat
Just let it happen.
It solidified,
fighting.
like for the longest time I think I've said on my stream, like, yeah, it's probably gonna be between Zelda and BG3. Just because Zelda's Zelda within like mainstream culture, it's known, it's Zelda, right? Like they're making a fucking movie. That was news we haven't gotten to yet. They announced they're making a full live action film around it. That's how big it is. But Baldur's Gate 3 got Call of Duty bros playing a CRPG in 2023. Yeah. If there's not a like bigger example of how impactful that game was on the entire video gaming scene, it's that. And it's not just playing it, like fucking posting thirst traps over Astarion on Twitter.
And also, will someone please think of the bear sex?
Yeah.
I feel like this isn't
big this year. Bestiality was huge, apparently.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you
don't
play
get Dark
Dark
Urge,
Urge
huge every year, JP.
if you play Dark Urge and you, as a goof, I decided to be like, I'm going to reject every time this game wants me to be evil. What could possibly happen? The payoff might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in a video game. And I was so shocked that they planned for it. They clearly had some sort of like, we know someone's going to do this, and we're going to make a whole brilliant.
Yeah.
So
also
it's
wild
an impressive game.
Also wild that between me, Zeke, and Cohh, we have like 500-600 hours of total game time. We haven't even started a Dark Urge playthrough. Like it's just it's so much.
It was the first thing I did. I was like, I'm
So
gonna be a
much
Dark
game.
Urge Paladin. I'm gonna be the goodest boy. I chose every nice choice. And I was
You
like,
were
what's
Jesse the Good, right?
Yeah.
Jesse the Good. Yeah, when I was at the event, someone was like, look, if you play Dark Urge and you reject it, we made it so the game would like challenge you. And I was like, I'm gonna test this, dude. I'm gonna test this. And he's like, go ahead. Man was right. Man, I was so pleased. I was like, they thought of this though.
So you did a full good Dark Urge playthrough, but you did no save scumming, right? So you did bad things because you failed rolls, I'm assuming?
Oh, I mean, like, so the way it works is if you say, I don't want to kill these people or I don't want to do this, the game gets progressively more like, roll a 30, bitch.
Yeah.
Like it gets way harder to do stuff. But the payoff for succeeding is so good in a way that's so unexpected.
When you say succeeding, did you save scum the rolls to always win? Or did you like let the bad, did you when you lost a roll, did you let it play out?
I guarantee at one point I definitely saved something, but most of the time it was like, let it ride, baby. Let's see what happens.
Cool. Okay.
And there's a very cool moment that I'm sure it got clipped somewhere where it's just like, I have no way to like change this. Let's just see what happens. And it's just beautiful. It's really well done. But of course I'm me, so I definitely save scum sometimes for things because I want to see, like, I would do the bad version and then I'd go back and try to be like, I want to know what's going to happen. Like, what are the options here? I love seeing
The
different outcomes.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely save scum stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
You've got me very conflicted because my big plan for my Dark Urge playthrough was just to lean into it completely. And now I'm like, wait a second.
So I made a second character that I just called Jesse the Evil. Exact same build, exact same character. And I just made all the other choices. It's equally they're both messed up in their own totally different messed up ways.
Yeah, I've heard some of the leaning into it is just wild. So yeah. What a game. I'm sure we will be talking about that come December 7th and come our Game of the Year awards, which if we don't have a guest next week, is a great time to remind everyone, because you guys can remind us next week, you guys being chat. Me, Zeke, and Cohh, we got to figure out our categories so we can get our community polls out there.
I think we should start with best trailer, funniest trailer, best action trailer, best comedy trailer.
Look, I watch
thrilling trailer.
As someone who watches
best trailer of trailers.
I watch about 50 No, that's a little bit. I watch about 25 trailers a week. I'm down. I'm on
best
board.
PlayStation trailer, best Xbox, best
I'm
PC
still
trailer.
pushing for best button on the keyboard.
Best Baldur's Gate 3 trailer. The category.
I got it. I'm on board.
Great. Let's do it.
I mentioned in passing the Zelda live action film was announced from Nintendo. I think in
If it's not Tom
cooperation.
Holland, I'm gonna riot.
We don't. They did not name any casting yet, but they're working with Sony and in tandem with this. And I think Avi Arad, I hope I pronounced that correctly, is also working with them. He's responsible for producing the first Iron Man film, among other films, which are maybe not as beloved, I would say, as that. So we'll see what it's going to look like. A lot of people were upset. They wanted an animated film after, I think, the Mario. But, like, it's a weird thing.
Somebody just said this in chat, and now I can't unsee it. They should just make Jared Leto Link and make him look as young as possible.
I was thinking they're gonna ride the wave of like popularity and have like Timothy Chalamet as Link.
I was
and
thinking
Pedro
Timothy
Pascal as Ganon.
Yeah, I think Timothy Chalamet would actually make an okay Link.
Yeah.
You know,
He's not.
You know what sucks about the Jared Leto Link is now I'm like, well, Margot Robbie's obviously Zelda. Like that sucks. Like that's in my head now.
Oh man,
The seed is there.
Jack Black is
man.
Tingle. I just hope we see Tingle. I want to see
That's
a
the one
live
that would be
action
kind of
Tingle.
fun. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. Jack Black as Tingle would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
I want to see Jim Carrey as Ganondorf.
I just don't know what that film. Like, what a live action Zelda is not something I ever imagined would be a thing, but that is like where Hollywood is at now. Is taking video games and turning them into TV and or film. So I guess we're here. I don't envision
if they
it.
do,
I don't
they
know.
do
I don't
it,
think it
like-
could ever be good, but prove me wrong.
if they take it seriously but also do like a good amount of fan service like they did with Dungeons and Dragons, like I think it could be all right. You know?
Yeah.
The smart thing to do
It's gonna be
is
weird
not,
seeing Link with a voice.
Yeah, that's the thing is like he doesn't fucking talk. Like
maybe he won't talk. Maybe he'll just
What
go,
if they
"Yeah."
actually? What if they bring in like a big actor and he doesn't say a freaking word?
That'd be amazing. That'd be so
That'd
good.
actually be kind of awesome.
Like the thing they need to do is the thing that video games screw up, like video game movies screw up all the time, which is don't retell a story from a game.
Tell a new story.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't try to like summarize a 20-hour game in a 2-hour movie. Don't do it, Hollywood. It's gonna suck if you do. Cut it out. It's its own story. That's all we need.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to expect from it, to be honest. Well, if they deliver something on like the level of Super Mario Brothers film that recently came out, then I'll be happy. But it's one thing to put Chris Pratt to voice Mario because you can be like, yeah, it's animated, it's fine. Whoever they cast in that role is like, I worry for them because like video game fandom is fucking really crazy, more so than like movie fandom. So I just hope that they're ready for their career to either be like killed or be the second coming of Christ.
No, I mean,
It's
JP,
one
no
or the
matter
other.
what,
One or the other.
no matter
other
what,
option.
the internet's gonna hate them.
You
no
think,
matter what.
You think
The
they're
internet's
just
gonna hate them.
immediately they're hated? Well, then who takes that as an actor? An unknown?
No, well, I mean, Chris Pratt's a great example. When you first heard Chris Pratt, the internet was like, trash. And the movie came out and it made a
He's
ton
fine.
of money.
Yeah, and he's fine.
Yeah. Right. It's the same thing with Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like, just when it seems like it's weird, the internet's just like, I am so mad. And then it happens and people are like, oh, that wasn't too bad. I actually kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. My favorite comment from the whole thing, and I said this already on my stream, someone commented on my tweet, was that someone said, I really hope the woke mind virus doesn't make them cast Zelda as a guy. Or wait, Zelda as a girl. That was the counter troll. It was like a complete counter troll. And I was like, that's brilliant. That's the most brilliant thing to troll all sides of the internet.
Yep.
In a single
great.
statement. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Anyways. that's
Zelda casting would be interesting. I think Zelda's probably more important than Link.
You think?
I'll be
Link
honest with
doesn't
you.
s-
My least favorite thing in because I just recently watched the Super Mario movie and it was great. It was good.
Yeah.
But I think the weakest Link was Queen's Gambit. What's her name? Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy?
Something. There you go. I thought she was the weakest Link in the movie. She did fine, but I don't know why like she was chosen for that. But in the live action Zelda, I think she'd be great as Zelda.
Damn it, chat. Owen Wilson as Zelda is just wow.
I'd love that. I
Or is
think.
it, no, I was. You know what? I was about to say is Link, but no. Now I'm thinking of it as Zelda. He should be Zelda.
Just put he's got a wig.
Let's put him in a dress.
Wow.
Let's do it. 100%. Yep.
I love it. We'll see. We'll see what
I
happens.
didn't
with that.
realize I said weakest Link. Oh my god.
It's fine. It happens. Hey, let's talk about AI, everyone's favorite topic. Xbox has partnered with a company called In-World AI.
What a tone deaf tweet. The timing on that is just it's remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of
Like,
the Game
like-
Awards,
Oh my god, dude.
I'm not sure what the tweet is that you're referencing. I've got the press release up. What did the tweet say
The announcement.
specifically?
I mean, no, I mean it's just, you know, after like one of the largest years of layoffs, like it's I don't know, it just seemed like
Are you
such
talking about
such
Phil's
bad
tweet?
I'm talking about just the announcement in general.
Oh,
and,
okay.
and a lot of it centered around the tweet, but like while the SAG after things are going on about AI and all this stuff, and there's all these problems and jobs getting lost everywhere, and they're like, yeah, so we're gonna start doing, you know, and they even say in the tweet, I think it's like for the purposes of AI dialogue, they actually like
right?
ping something that people normally do, not like, hey, we're gonna facilitate people in making this. Like we are going to use this to make the thing people normally do make.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, man, just not read the room, y'all. Like,
And
come
then
on, dude.
again, the Game
This is-
Awards posted about it with no context, just like almost a retweet. Like, that's also tone deaf. You're supposed to be like honoring game devs and the artists who make game. And you're like, next year we will interview AI bot 6947. Like, it's just, it's very strange. And again, like, you know, like Cohh was saying, the idea of a year when games made some of the most money they've ever made, yet laid off the most people they've ever laid off is
one of the best games,
absolutely
one of the best years for games, one of the worst years for game devs.
Yep. I think videogamelayoffs.com, I think they crossed over 6,300 folks so far. There's another, was it 100 from Ubisoft on Monday? They were let go, I want to say. In amount, I should say, maybe not 100. I don't know the exact number, but yeah.
And there's like, here's the thing, there's so many ways to use AI effectively, but not to just like they're jobs of like, you're making a script, you have actors, like there are ways to use it to minimize the more labor intensive things of like programming or like there's ways to do it that aren't just like, yeah, exactly. But that's not what they're using it for. They're like, what if instead it wrote out all the characters' dialogue? Like, what? Why would you choose that?
The big thing about AI is AI is, you know, there's a lot of new texts coming out and there's a lot of misinformation about those technologies. And I feel like especially when technologies are, you know, very new, blockchain, Web3, all that stuff. It's not only the technology, but it's how you publicly interface with the technology. AI can be used to make game development as a whole a wildly more interesting, innovative, and awesome thing. It can make small indie dev teams, you know, when they use AI, you know, to help facilitate their game creation, it can make it go faster. They make more things. Like, it's great. It could be awesome. It can also be horrible. Right. So it's like you have to really be, especially if you're a company showing off the fact that you're using it, you really have to be cognitive about like how it looks. What are the optics? Like, there's so many different ways they could have made this announcement, and there's ways they could have made it that didn't feel tone deaf. Right. And it's so unfortunate that like they chose to go this kind of like axe instead of a scalpel way. That kind of, you know, it's AI is the future. It's going to be, and it could be amazing when it gets implemented properly. You know, it's not something to be scared of, but again, it is something to be like, you have to really be careful with this stuff as when you're talking about it.
Yep. Yep.
I'm just like gonna say this just to say it. AI is being used as a tool to save companies money. And I'm just saying, most executives make the majority of the amount of money in a company, and I feel like an AI could easily take their job. You'd save a ton of cash. They're not really making any decisions except for how do we make shareholders more money. Like, an AI could do that. I'm just putting it out there, just put it out in the ether. You could replace them, and then you save some cash. You'd save millions of dollars. It's just me.
And the only people that would have issue with that would be the executives. No one else would be like, we shouldn't have AI as a head of a company.
I promise you could replace Bobby Kotick with an AI, and it would be roughly the exact same equivalent of quality. I'm convinced of this.
You know, funny enough, the coldness of the decisions too would be an easier pill for people to swallow.
Right, because a robot did it. Yes.
Our robot did that. It wasn't a person. Yes. It was our fucking robot. Be mad at the robot.
Yeah.
It's just making the best decisions for us as a company, and it's not a person. So yeah, there you go.
They're using algorithms anyway to make their terrible choices. Just have a AI do it.
Yeah, it's all numbers. Yeah, at the end of the day, ultimately. Yeah. So you guys, 100%. This thing was just kind of tone deaf. The whole thing was just met with a shit ton of dismay within the gaming industry from kind of all sides, from developers, fans, creators like ourselves. It was not. I don't know what they thought how they thought this would go ultimately, and if they thought it was going to be like something that would be celebrated. I want to see those numbers, right? Show me that algorithm that kind of showed them that to lead with that. I do remember on the show though, when I brought up a while back, there was was it a Chinese company that was using AI to do MMO quest text. Is one of their things, and that's exactly what this is. I think at the end of the day, is kind of along the same lines. So it got here faster than I thought. I thought we were a couple years out, but no, we're here. We'll see what I guess Xbox does with it.
The dangerous thing to remember is that
Quest. Oh, I'm sorry. People in chat are getting very confused. He's not talking about reading out quest text like in World of Warcraft. He's talking about generating quest text.
Yeah, creating the quest on the fly via AI. Yeah.
Yes.
But like, no matter what you do with AI, it's someone's always inputting something. So be it quest text, it's taking stuff from writers and expounding upon it. If it's voices, someone needed to lend their voice to the AI so the AI could create, like, there's a starting point, and it's those people who are getting screwed over. Because once they have your voice, like, that's one of the big SAG-AFTRA things. Like, once your voice is being used, do you own your own voice anymore? Like, those are big issues.
Yeah. It's a scary thing for sure. What else? Not really a shocker. The Epic versus Apple trial has suggested that Epic was hoping to claim half of all PC gaming revenue via the Epic Game Store. And the other little tidbit of news that came alongside that is that the Epic Game Store still isn't profitable. It is not. It is not.
We're gonna check the box. Did not quite meet expectations.
Didn't quite meet those expectations.
Just a little off there.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, how do you look? I don't know how you look at that and think, like, guys, we could do this. We could take over half of the market by putting out this store. I don't even know if Steam is half the market. I don't know, like, how much of the market it is, but when you compare the two, Steam is fucking stupidly huge, and it's not even half the market. So, just a weird thing coming out of there.
Yeah. Is it Fortnite that's just propping up the whole thing?
I think it was.
Their engine is also a big part of it.
Yeah. Unreal does. Yes, Unreal's a massive thing within the industry,
especially after the Unity debacle.
Yeah. And it's poised to even be bigger, right, with UE5 if everyone is jumping over to that. I mentioned Steam. The Steam Deck OLED was announced this past week. A minor upgrade, still an upgrade though, in all of that. People have already had their hands on it and kind of broken into it and seen all the different changes on it. I think most of us, Jesse, do you have a Steam Deck? I know the rest of us do. I think
I'm not a big, like, when I leave the office, I do not game.
Yeah.
I spend so much time here working and gaming and doing stuff that the minute I leave, I try to do anything but.
Yeah.
That's just old man Jesse getting away from, like, I got to have a me time moment.
It's smart.
I'm like, I don't want to look at games. I don't want to talk about games. I don't want to do games when I leave. Yeah.
Yeah. It's smart. For Zeke and Cohh,
hold on a second. When you're in the office, you talk like normal, but when you're out of the, are you actually like from Brooklyn?
This is how I talk when I leave the. I'm
this
like,
is how
hey!
I talk. Oh, I
play Cyberpunk. Yeah.
When I went to the panel, you did talk like that. You're right. I forgot.
Yeah. The minute I leave,
you say, "What's with this old guy playing video games? What's going on here?"
Yeah.
That's pretty much that was the whole panel. I'm pretty sure.
I'm gaming here.
Exactly. Zeke and Cohh, you guys gonna get a new Steam Deck? Is it enticed you enough?
I don't use mine enough.
Yeah.
I only use mine when I travel, and I travel like, a couple times a year at most. So
yeah. Zeke, for you, any interest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, the one I got is fine.
I'll wait till the Steam Deck 2, whenever that gets out. They mentioned it.
Exactly. I'll wait until it's stronger. Like when it gets a little beefier, then that's probably when I'll look into it.
Yeah.
But not just for the screen.
I think Gabe was asked about that, and they said that, like, the tech does not exist yet for a Steam Deck to exist. So we're going to be
that's fair. That's
waiting for
it. Rather wait for a meaningful upgrade.
Yeah. That was that. Trying to see if there's anything else. We can kind of talk. Jesse was a great guest to, I think, discuss about this, given his history with the company / the game. Jesse, what do you think about this WoW resurgence that's happening right now? Like this, where were you on? What are your thoughts on all this?
Okay. Welcome to every post BlizzCon.
Yeah, is this the post
Everyone's
BlizzCon?
It happens every BlizzCon. There's like a big bump in people's excitement for WoW. But WoW, it's a meme that's going around right now, and I think it's absolutely true. I don't know how many of you have seen Ahsoka as a show, but there's a scene where I believe Ray Winstone, I think is his name,
Okay.
where he's like, I like the idea of it, but not, not the weakness, not what it is. That's
Oh
WoW.
yeah.
Everyone likes the idea of what Warcraft is, and they remember the good times and all that stuff. But I promise you, most people, when they go back to it, will be like, yeah, I got out. I don't know if I can put time into it again. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I will say the one thing that interests me is the new season of Discovery for Warcraft Classic,
Yeah.
which is like, okay, it's only up to level 25, so it's not a huge time commitment, and we're gonna get weird with it, like a tanky warlock or like a healing they're gonna like do weird things. That could be fun to check out. Like, that has me interested.
Yeah.
And everything else, I'm just like, yo, I got out. I spent 15 years playing WoW, and I played it all the time.
Yeah, you were
I
in it.
physically can't go back. I'm like, I can't go back. I can't do it.
Yeah. Is the WoW Classic Cataclysm announcement your old namesake?
That makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
No,
Cataclysm's when they literally revamped the world and it was no longer classic. So for them to be like, it's classic Cataclysm, that's just like, it's old Warcraft. It's not classic anymore. It makes no sense to me, but like, I'm not playing it. So what the hell do I care?
Right.
Right? Like,
And
if
then
you enjoy it, go have fun. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
The final question I have for you is, I don't think it did from the sound of what you said thus far, but did you watch like Metzin's Metzin thing? His moment
Yes.
on stage? How did you feel about the Metzin moment?
Metzin, if you watch the entire opening ceremony,
Yeah.
all it did was prove that there is not a single person at Blizzard with the charisma of Metzin.
Yep.
Everyone that stood up there was not even an eighth of how excited he was to be there. Like, and the fact that they haven't had him for years to present things just shows you how much they're missing out. That man came out and you knew, like, okay, here we go. He could have said anything and people would have been hyped. But he actually dropped some cool stuff. And it's like, okay, all right. I don't know that I'll go back and play it, but I'm interested in what it is. I would love to know more, but like, I don't know that my soul can handle
still not the big enough
3
pull.
expansions of WoW.
Still not big enough pull for you, even with the sword being mentioned. The can't
That
mention
blew
the
my
weapon.
mind. I was so happy, but also, like, again, the reason why I enjoy Final Fantasy 14 at the moment is because I can walk away. Like, that game does not require me to do a ton of. I can leave.
Yeah.
And I know that right now there's like some uproar in the Final Fantasy 14 community about it being like, there's nothing to do right now. I'm totally fine with that. In fact, that's why I like it, because I don't have to feel like I need to do stuff. WoW always made me feel like I have to be playing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the Blizzard thing. Blizzard wants you always playing their games. I just, at some point, I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I got to walk away. So, I'm awesome, excited for all my friends who still play WoW and everyone who's going to get to experience that story. And I'll definitely be on the periphery like, ooh, that's neat. But I don't know that I have the emotional bandwidth to be like, all right, I'm in for another 3 expansions. See what happens. Nah, I don't know that I can.
Okay. All right. We'll have to, I guess we'll see when that comes out, whenever that is. I think, is the first expansion next year? Didn't they?
Yes.
Next summer? I forget what maybe next fall?
I think it's supposed to be at in the fall of next year.
Okay, that's what it was.
And then it's supposed to be they're releasing them real quick, and it's supposed to be a 3 arc that wraps up the all the loose ends,
World
all the
Soul
loose
Saga.
threads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird thing. I think I would upset the community if I didn't ask Cohh about his first foray into, well, not first. You played in the past for a very short amount of time.
I played World of Warcraft on release. It had level 44 Hunter. And at the time, I was also really big into EverQuest 2, which I then did, world first rating and stuff in and left WoW behind and never played it again. And I now have my first character in hardcore World of Warcraft Classic after 18 years.
Are you enjoying it? Did it get you again?
I am actually loving it. I'm having a fantastic time. But what's interesting is I'd say that's like there's a chunk of it because it's this fun new world to explore and I'm enjoying it. But the thing that's really making me have a good time is that I don't know what it is about the classic community. It's just great. Everyone's super helpful. Everyone's nice.
Yeah, that was
I feel
really
like all
weird
the power
for me to
gamers are
experience,
on retail.
Yeah.
And everyone here is just like the streams have been immaculate. Just tons of people coming in and being like, oh, this is so nostalgic. I love seeing Cohh play in my game, answering questions where, 90% of the people saying stuff in chat are right and actually answering the question I'm asking. And I'm asking a ton of questions because I have no idea what I'm doing. So, it's great seeing, it's also pulling together a lot of streamers from all over the map into like this one place, which is kind of a rare thing for Twitch. It's fun kind of hanging out and chilling with all these streamers I don't normally get a chance to because I'm kind of my lone wolf self off doing variety stuff. So overall, I'm loving it. I've somehow not died yet, and enjoying the ride. And
what level are you now? 16, 15?
16.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm trucking along.
Yeah.
Like a crazy question for you, and I don't know if this is true, but it feels true. Is it because it seems like the audience for classic skews older?
I would not only say that, yes, absolutely, but I feel like the biggest thing is that most games, especially ones that are most MMOs that are live, tend to have power gaming competitive communities. And I feel like in this very interesting way, the classic servers separate that off, especially on hardcore, because of how much of a risk it is to raid. So there's even less of those super competitive raiders on the server. I'm finding it just to be much more people that are just playing to have a good time and just have fun. And like every time I get to one of those large areas where there's like a bunch of you look on the map and I use a death log. So it's like blood red because tons of people are dying there. There's just people that are there helping keep people alive.
Yeah.
They're like 5 levels above this stuff. They're just sitting there healing people and making sure everyone's good and stuff. And it's just like, this is awesome. Like it's a real community vibe that I think is really fun.
It's a very strange thing. I have not streamed it much, but I'm playing offline around 15, I think, or 16 where you're at. And Jesse, you can probably, I guess, not relate to this and how weird it is. Walking around, if someone has a buff to give you, they just give you a buff.
You're running down the road. Anytime you pass somebody, you just see like an icon appear over your head. And oh, thanks.
And I know it's not because I'm streaming. My name has no relationship to that I am a streamer. They just buff everyone because everyone is like trying to fucking survive. Well, and it's a weird experience. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys played
WoW in a long time. Sorry, just real quick side note. I haven't played WoW in a long time, but you honestly, like in a very like short or small way, you just described why I love Burning Man.
Oh, is everyone trying to
walking through? Everybody's like, have a cheeseburger. We made them fresh. Hey, do you like margaritas?
Instead of buffs, they have like glitter, and you walk by them like, here you go. +3 charisma.
Yeah, that's sure. I get it.
If JP or Cohh, did you play on original launch back in 2004?
I did.
Oh, that's when I played.
Yeah.
So like
it was very similar. I
vividly remember the things you're talking about. Like the things you're talking about. I would walk around and like random druids would give me like druid buffs.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. They'd like run by, boop, buffed, and keep going. And it has the same feel, and it does feel very like
it makes a difference.
Warm, huggy.
Yeah.
It feels.
It does.
Yeah,
it feels communal. It feels like it actually is the players versus the world.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Like you're all in here, like, making the place better. And it's nice. It's very nice. So it's a different, I think there's not a lot of MMOs that can pull off something like this, I feel, in a lot of ways. So I feel like for me personally, this is like one of the best possible times I could have returned. Also, I've never played an MMO with hardcore. It's a different feel. It's a different feel, like having to really be paying attention the whole time and really judge your risks and kind of, should I do this mission? Nah, this looks pretty hard. Let me check the death map. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Like it's a very different way to play as somebody that's pretty much an aficionado at dying in video games.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a nice, a little more entertaining change of pace.
Yeah, it definitely changes things in that regard, which is cool. But yeah, 100%. Like I thought about it a lot, Cohh, and then we need to end because or Zeke's got a show to go to. But I thought a lot about it because, God, was it 2 years ago when Final Fantasy blew up? Like Final Fantasy blew up, but the sense of community did not exist amongst it blowing up on Twitch. Like Final Fantasy has a good community, but it blowing up among streamers didn't bring the streamers together. WoW Hardcore Classic blowing up has actually like brought so many different streamers together, and it's a
the reason why. The reason why, and I've made so many videos on this, but the reason why is that old vanilla WoW literally was not about a story.
Yeah.
You played it because you were exploring a world, and you had friends who you'd play with, and you'd be like, what's around this corner? What's over there? Half the game had no story at all. Like if you were in the sort of like the Eastern Kingdoms, half those zones had nothing but enemies. And it was about the experience of playing with friends. So I can very much understand why people would get together, because Final Fantasy 14, the reason why people watched streamers is because they want to see what they would say to the story.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I wonder what they're going to do with their friends. Half the time, you can't be with your friend. It was about the story. WoW
Final
is
Fantasy
about
14
friendship.
is the Final Fantasy 14 is the best multiplayer single player game ever made.
Yes.
Accurate. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Absolutely. And funny enough, it's funny you say that, Jesse, because first of all, I will say this. Playing this game with the AI voice add-on for the quest texts is amazing. If you've never seen that, you should check it out. It's actually, like, it blew my mind how good it is. But one of my big old school nostalgic MMOs is EverQuest. And what the big thing about EverQuest is there is basically no quests, funny enough. There's very little story. It's like ambient lore. So one of the things you do is you just, it's all about the people versus the game. That's what it's all about. It's the people versus the game. And I completely see what you're saying when you're kind of like, that's kind of what classic WoW is. That's the feeling I'm getting, where it's just like, you know, everyone's kind of just a big group instead of a bunch of little solo players. And that's awesome.
Yep. It's a weird experience. We'll talk more about it next week. I am sure maybe even get someone from that microcosm on the show. So we got to wrap up though. Zeke, quick, do some shout outs so you can get out of here. What do you got going on?
Will do. Hey, everybody. Thank you for watching. My name is Ezekiel30. You can find me at /Ezekiel_III on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Ezekiel the Third. I'll spell that on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, Jesse, for joining us. I love hearing nerds talk about nerd stuff that they're passionate about. And it was just, I love just sitting back and hearing you like nerd out about it, even though like we had differing opinions. It's okay. I loved it still. So thank you for showing up and dropping your knowledge on us. Thank you to Cohh and JP, as always, for being an awesome co-host. I have a role-playing show after this. If you want to check it out, twitch.tv/table story. It's based in the Blade Runner universe. If you want to watch me stream, I'm off on Monday, so I'm not going tomorrow. But on Tuesday, I will be doing the If Then drawing winners game choice of Beneath the Steel Sky on CD-ROM. So if you want to check me out on Tuesday, that's what I'll be doing. Thanks for watching.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here, Zeke. Have a good rest of your show. Jesse Cox.
Hey, man.
You want to talk to me about Excuse Me, Sir?
Yeah, hey, first off, thank you to the boys here for having me. I must stress, this is one of the best shows on Twitch, period. And I'm so thrilled they are still doing it. 3 amazing hosts, and I'm always excited to come on and interrupt them at all times. So yeah. Hey, do you like video games? Because I make them. And I'm going to shamelessly plug for you a demo for our newest one. Myself and Erdorf, who is behind the Faith series, and the amazing Torpal, and the wonderful Trevor, who did our art, and Molly Moon from the old TikTok. We made a game called Excuse Me, Sir, and it is a horror game that is totally free. It's just a demo. We want to get feedback. It's on the old itch.io. It should probably be on the front page. Last time I checked, it was like in the top 30 games there. So very pleased with that. And definitely check it out. It is a ton of fun. And it is, it operates in that weird space of point and click horror that feels very retro. So give it a shot. Please try it out. And I will see you guys later.
Fantastic. Cohh. Do some shout outs.
Got a little yogi there at the end. I like it. As always, a huge thanks to JP and Zeke, and a special shout out to Jesse. Always love having you on the show, sir. That's awesome. By the way, quick other shout out. I happen to be randomly looking for stuff about you. You're working on another game that comes out this year, right?
Hopefully
Is
in
it
the
this
next
year?
6 months, fingers crossed. Yes, it's called Gestalt
Okay.
Steam and Cinder. It
There
is
we
a platformer that is very like Metroidvania EE. It's awesome. It's very cool.
Cool. Okay, awesome. Just
Yeah,
wanted to
that
check
has
with
a-
that.
is that demo
I
still
made a
live?
note to ask you about that.
'Cause I've played that demo.
There's a
I
demo
think.
for it, I think. Yeah, they released a bunch of it's on Steam. You can go look it up. Just Gestalt Steam and Cinder.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Anyway, huge thank you, Jesse. It was a pleasure talking to you as it always is. My name is Cohh. Hi. We're going to be finishing up Yakuza in the very near future, possibly tomorrow morning. And then I'm probably going to be playing a lot of hardcore WoW because it's a lot of fun and I'm enjoying it. So it's going to be good. But anyway, as always, thank you guys so much for being here. If I don't see you next week, and if I don't see you until then, have a good week until next week. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Fantastic. Thanks everyone so much for being on and being here. We'll get the VOD up over at YouTube in a little bit. I'm going to stream 2-ish hours before I go to dinner of some WoW Classic. I suppose we'll see how that goes. I'm not fully sold on streaming it yet. Like the idea of watching someone play WoW Classic is so fucking bizarre to me. I can't wrap my head around it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then I'm also continuing. We're doing a rerun of Monster Hunter World where I intend to solo Fatalis, which means I got about 150 hours of Monster Hunter World in front of me. But I want to do it.
God.
I enjoy it. I want to play some more. And
Wait, real quick. How did this challenge come around? What is this?
so I made a list of goals a couple months back, and one of those
There's
goals,
your problem.
one of those
There's
goals
your
amongst a
problem.
bunch
That's right.
of other stupid goals was to solo Fatalis because chat said I couldn't do it.
Wow.
And so I started a new run.
Wow.
And it's a process. It takes on average, if you're not speedrunning it, it's around like 150-ish hours to grind everything to get to that point.
Well, it's been a...
So I got a lot.
You have an active channel on Twitch,
Yeah.
JP.
Yeah. Viewership's actually been pretty good for it. It's funny
Yeah.
that, yeah, people like come out of the fucking woodwork when you play
Hell yeah,
Monster
man.
Hunter. They're like, oh, this was... Rise sucks. I don't like Rise. That's usually the conversation is how bad Rise was. So yeah, we'll do some more of that tomorrow.
Whatever works, man. Whatever works.
Do some WoW Classic in the evenings. That's at least the play for now. Next week, what releases do we have? Super Mario RPG Remake comes out, and Persona 5 Tactics, one of those.
Yeah.
Those are both on the
Gonna be playing
17th. There's a handful of other stuff, as well as Yakuza, which we'll talk about next week. We'll have time for it.
Yeah, Like a Dragon Gaiden. It's actually great. What games are you guys playing like in the next few weeks?
Those are really the only two that I've got on my radar.
I'm kind of
won't-
in a holding pattern until Rogue Trader.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like Path of Exile has a new season in December, and then there's not much for me that I'm super interested in till like January. So
There's a brand new Rusty Lake game out called Underground Blossom. If you are not in the Rusty Lake verse, get in that. It is the best.
okay.
Rusty Lake.
Is this like an Alan Wake
Rusty Lake is a
situation?
series of like many games. Most are free. Some are like $4, and they're weird as hell. They're point and clicks, like old school point and clicks. And a new one just came out, and I can't wait to play it. That's my plan this
Cool.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Chat. I got some folks
Awesome.
in chat saying Rusty Lake's great. So there you go. Yeah. PoE December. That's kind of. There's not much. It's been a really weird. I was talking about this with chat. It's been a really weird time the past 6 months on Twitch because we've had week after week so much to play, and when your job is like playing games, it's really nice to be like, that's a new hot release that week. Let's play that. Brand new stuff to play. And now there's kind of the break in all of that stuff. For the first time in a long
There are
time.
a lot of great games that a lot of us have not been able to play. Sea of Stars,
Yeah.
Star Ocean R is awesome. I actually played that for like 10 minutes just to make sure it worked and was getting like slapped around with a nostalgia sausage to my face. Like it feels so good.
Yeah.
My Time at Sandrock hit 1.0. That's a really cozy,
That's right. I
fun
forgot that
game.
came out. Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of, Coral Island comes out soon. So yeah, it's, a lot of good things to play.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do your second or third Baldur's Gate 3 run.
That has crossed my mind as well. Funny enough, the Twitch meta of all things, which I did not anticipate in 2023, is WoW Classic Hardcore.
You're telling me, dude.
I can't-
Oh,
Here
you're
we
preaching to the
are.
choir, man.
Yeah.
Here we
Yeah,
are.
and I don't think that's going to die. I think that's going to stay ignited throughout the year.
I think the hardcore thing makes it a lot more interesting. I
Yeah.
think you say that you know, you're baffled that people can watch people. It's a little different when you're watching somebody play and you know that like literally a 30-second series of mistakes can end 80 plus hours of work.
Yeah.
Like it adds a little more tension to it, I feel like.
I
So
suppose.
as a viewer. Especially if they're like in a hard area that you know about and stuff like that. Like people were so has Cohh been to Westfall yet? Has Cohh been to Westfall?
Oh, I've been. See, maybe that's the
Like,
difference.
That's been like the big. Has he been to Westfall?
Maybe that's the difference because like you are you're like the person visiting for the first time, whereas I'm like Westfall.
I'm a visitor.
I'm in Eastfall, motherfucker. I'm on the complete. I'm not going there. Are you fucking crazy? Yeah.
Meanwhile, chat in my channel while I'm playing is like all in unison, all 10,000. Westfall.
Yeah, they're
Westfall.
all dude. We got to wrap, but Jesse, the best part, one of the best parts, I should say, about WoW Classic is everyone's using a add-on called is it
Deathlog.
Deathlog, and Deathlog actively has heat maps. It tracks everyone that uses it and has like on the tooltip when you hover over mob, it says like this is the so and so deadliest mob in Azeroth in this zone. It tells you like all of this stuff.
All the players on the server.
It's
It
great.
tells you what level they were, what killed them, where they were when it happened, and the last thing they said in chat.
Yeah.
So like it's amazing when you see a guy and it's like, yeah, he just got killed level 44 by an iron golem. Last thing he said in chat, oh, I got this golem, no problem. And it's like,
Yeah. They were doing a Nixia last night on the server.
Did you have that?
2 people
Golem,
died
no
during the
problem.
thing, so it spammed the server that like 2 people died by Anixia. And the last thing they typed was like, hey man, can I get some water? And you're just like, oh my God, that poor guy.
Yeah, somebody died last night, and it's the last thing he said in chat is like, let me pull that off you, I'll save you. And I was like,
Yeah, dude, it's
he gave his life
really
for that
fun
guy.
to see that shit.
I was watching Krendor play, and someone got killed by the Undercity elevator, and
Yeah.
the last thing he said was him half typing out a sentence,
Oh.
and that's what killed him. I was like, yo, that's so funny. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh,
Well,
no.
that's the other thing too
it's
is who like me and Cohh are playing Alliance, and I've typically played Horde. Who the fuck would ever go to Undercity, Thunderbluff? Like the Horde cities are just death traps. Cohh, they have giant. Thunderbluff is all up in the sky. Yeah, and Undercity has a fucking elevator.
I've been told even in
clip
my little
through.
dwarf city, there's just this red ring around the center
Yeah.
lava pit of where
Yeah.
people have died.
People have died in the lava pit. Yeah, and
Just the auto running deaths are off the charts.
It's wild.
Man.
That's a fun thing to see. So, anyways, we got to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching Drop Frames. We'll put the VOD up on YouTube for those folks who want to enjoy that. And we'll be back next week, maybe with a WoW Classic player. Maybe it'll just be 3 of us. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. For now, though, we're out of here. Jesse, once again, thanks for joining us for the Alan Wake 2 Spoilercast
for
in
having me.
general. And we'll see you guys next week for more Drop Frames. We're out of here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.